Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad.
Well, welcome home, family. It's your mom and dad.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Good evening. Whenever you're listening, wherever you're listening from, we love you.
Wow, he's starting off so positive again. Yes. Well, I have something to change the mood. And family, it is this. I hold right now the Your Mom and Dad Truth Box. Yes. Now, obviously, we're recapping the Golden Bachelor and the Bachelor in Paradise episodes. And if you watched Bachelor in Paradise this week, you saw the Paradise Truth Box. So here's the thing. Evan and I were inspired. Mm-hmm. We watched it and we thought, you know what? You know what a good way is to have peace and harmony in the house? It's putting this box out, dropping in thoughts, just exposing our truths, really getting them out there. So
I see fireworks ahead of us. I see fights on the horizon.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think it's a very healthy way to communicate how you're processing. I mean, we saw it on the sand, right? We saw Aaron smash the box into smithereens and then expose all of the truths. And it was a very healthy way of communication.
Yeah, and that was hilarious too, because I just prefer to call it his anger box. Because, he just immediately switched over into like rage mode and is just like, enough with the fun and games. No more fun stuff.
Listen,
I have a lot to say.
Listen, Aaron was out there and he was like, I am now alone and he went into chaos mode. And I have to say, thanks to him.
He created the drama. Because Wells was doing so what's your favorite taco?
Yeah,
and
it was a little snoozy. You know what I mean?
Snoozy.
And Aaron was like, I'm bored. So let's crack this box open and set the beach ablaze.
Correct.
So we thought we would do that in our own house and set up our own Your Mom and Dad Truth Box. So there are truths in here.
Yes.
So should we just go back and forth and
pick some?
I think so.
See what happens?
Yeah.
Okay. Very Zelda, by the way. If you guys are watching on, I was very triggered by this. If you're watching on YouTube in a positive way, it looks like I really wish there was some sort of armor or weapon, zonite thing going on there. So very, very loving this chest.
Here we go. Should I go first?
Yes, go first.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, I'll take this big one.
Oh.
This is very long.
It's anonymous, so we don't know.
I'm already angry.
We don't even know. You could have written this. Could have been Ember.
Jess recommends escape rooms for every family outing. Someone help. Everything is about escape rooms. Just yesterday, we were walking at a farmer's market, and there was an escape room nearby we walked by that she acted like she didn't know was there. Now nervous, everything we do has an escape room element. Every dinner, walk, outing may have ulterior motives.
This is anonymous. And it's not a cry for help from
I would like to make something very clear that I didn't know that there was an escape room by where we were walking to whoever wrote that note. Go ahead, Evan, you pull.
To whoever wrote that note, they probably do not believe you.
Please, you pull. Go ahead. What a healthy way of communication.
Okay. I think it is so hot that Jess doesn't cook or clean and does solo escape rooms and decorates a man's life. This is... Whoever wrote that feels that way.
Here, I'll go next.
And I'm sure there is no,
I'll go next.
Okay.
Evan's too epic in bed and is also too handsome. It can be too intimidating at times.
Okay.
Wonder who wrote that. Go ahead.
Someone wrote that.
Go
very
ahead.
Telling. I think it's interesting.
I mean, he is very handsome. It is a truth. God bless.
Evan pees the bed. Whoever wrote this is hashing up old stuff. I think we've dealt with this on the podcast many times. It was something I went through, and to whoever wrote that, I think it's unnecessary to bring that up again, and also to relive my trauma in that.
I feel like
to whoever wrote that, I just think it's unnecessary.
I feel like whoever wrote that was just wanting people to know that it's just a thing. It was just more probably a passing thought for whoever wrote that. Just like a moment where you're like, oh yeah, Just a thought.
Just
Evan
a thought.
pees the
Okay,
bed.
cool. And
yeah.
then,
it
maybe
wasn't. It wasn't for whoever wrote that. It wasn't. Oh, maybe I should make sure that the sheets are washed just in case there was a dribble or something.
Got it.
It wasn't
Okay.
anything to do with someone who was about to start washing sheets.
Interesting.
I'll go now.
Yep.
Okay. We need toilet paper.
Just
That feels aggressive to whoever wrote that, because that feels like someone saying that it's directed towards my lack of grocery shopping and appliance shopping, etc.
No, I think
don't
whoever
even
wrote that
know
just is trying to make
what
a hint
toilet
that-
paper would be called, because I just referred to it as an appliance.
yeah, I think whoever wrote that probably is just saying, hey, it'd be nice if you brought home some of those things we need. That's it. I don't think it's like I don't think whoever wrote that.
Yeah,
is
go
probably
ahead.
just saying,
Please
okay.
just go ahead.
If Evan was a good person, he'd give up his side of the bathroom and bedroom to make space for Jess's the room. Okay, so whoever wrote that, I would say that Evan has given you an entire room, a bedroom, by the way, not a closet, not all the closet. No, a bedroom that has a small closet in it as well. So to whoever wrote that, I would say that you're now demanding like actual like chunks of the house, more than single bedrooms.
I think,
and to that person, I would say that I think that we got to focus more on the fact that the room is out of control. And I would also say to that person, the other day we had to have someone come inspect the house for termites and needed to get into the attic. But what was blocking this person's ability to get into the attic was the room spilling into straight up. So then I had to tell the person who was inspecting the termites some sort of like tale about how sorry we're in the middle of like moving stuff and like we have a storage unit where like I had to create some sort of thing because I couldn't dare just tell him, sorry, we have this room. So I would say to that person,
I would say,
how about
you don't have to lie to the termite inspector. You could just be honest about it.
I would say to that person, their ability to handle that embarrassment is far superior to mine. That's what I would say to that person. Whoever wrote this note, I would say that you need to feel that embarrassment that I felt dealing with the termite guy.
Okay,
Cool.
great. I'll pull another one.
Okay.
Let's do this one. There is someone here that farted in their sleep last night. That is not true.
And whoever wrote that, I wonder who it could be.
Wait, no, for real? Did I really?
A little bit, yeah.
I did?
Yeah. And just so you guys know, Jess notoriously doesn't fart. It's like very weird.
It must have been some sort of
And the only time she's ever farted has been in bed in the middle of the night asleep. Like I'll wake up and I'll kind of like hear it and be like, wait, what was that?
It
And
must
then
have been
realize-
like some sort of inspo after watching all this poop baby talk. Like it must have gotten my bowels going,
Interesting.
Please, I think
Okay,
there's one more.
left. Let's
Yeah, I
see
think
here.
so.
Okay. I'm jealous of Evan. He's married to Jess.
You should probably read that louder.
I'm jealous of Evan. He's married to Jess.
I don't know who walked in and said that, but thank you so much. What a nice compliment.
I'm jealous of Evan.
I don't know who was in our house. Maybe it was the termite inspector who dropped that note in the truth box.
I think I know what this is. These are two separate comments. Just, I'm jealous of Evan, and also just stating a fact. He's married to Jess. So to that I will say, you know what? Absolutely. I'm sorry that I make you jealous, and you're actually right. I am married to Jess, and no, but all joking aside, I am a very lucky man. And to my
enough
wife,
of the goddamn truth
to my
box.
wife who wrote this, you're absolutely right, babe. I am very jealous.
You know what I have to say? I am actually shocked and impressed that we pulled, the whole time we pulled each other's.
That's actually very true.
And they were on the same pieces of paper. I thought I was gonna.
I didn't even think about that.
I thought I was gonna have the opportunity to read "I'm jealous of Evan. He's married to Jess." I was kind of hoping that I would have that opportunity,
okay.
but so yeah,
Very
now,
impressive. And actually, I think we should continue this and just kind of let everyone know
Yeah,
how
it feels
goes.
really healthy. I'm sure for the listeners, it wasn't like listening to their parents have an uncomfortable argument at dinner or something like
The
that.
hard
so sorry
thing
for
about it is it's a day ruiner. You know what I mean? Like if like let's say we put in our little things.
Yep.
Then like when you come home or like let's say you had a great lunch with a friend, you come home and then you see a little note in there and it just says something like cutting or frustrating.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a good way to kind of ruin your day.
Yeah, we love a day ruiner.
Like, you know how most people recommend like leave sweet notes for your loved one?
Well,
this is kind of the opposite.
This is what Izzy to sweet notes. What he probably wanted to do on Love is Blind
leave
is
a
the truth box and say, it upsets me that you want $100 bills left around the house all day.
Exactly.
Forget
Well,
about Flower Mondays.
It was a good exercise. I do think it's problematic for a lifestyle, but
Fun and games with the truth box over here. Big LOLs, big lols.
big lols.
Big lols. I'll definitely be bringing this to all of our family holiday get-togethers with extended family.
I think that's
a
more the
good way
move.
to start any sort of family get-together at the beginning. Everyone just drops it in. You know what? Because I'll be real. I have pretty much 99.99999% nice things to say about you. If
Yeah,
I'm
me
being
too.
honest.
Yeah, I had to
But
dig
I
deep.
do have a few things to say to family. So
That would be like catastrophic if like you had a big family that had like a lot of issues with each other, and then you just put a truth
you're like, I
box
have
out,
the truth box.
and like you're just dropping some serious heat on the parents. Like they would lose their minds,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Well, you never are around," and like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't recommend, but I
don't
will be
recommend,
doing it.
But something that feels very cathartic.
Yes. Okay, but honestly, that's probably not the best way to handle that. There are much healthier, better ways for your heart. And speaking of, this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. What perfect timing after the truth box, you know? Thank you, BetterHelp. Do you ever feel like your brain is getting in its own way? Like you know what you should do, what's good for you, but there's just that block? Therapy can help you figure out what's holding you back so you can work for yourself instead of against yourself. You know how much Evan and I believe in therapy.
Big time.
It has helped us both so much individually and as a couple over the years. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try.
Therapy has personally helped me so much over this last year. Not only processed current personal struggles, but also processed the past as well. It's helped me learn more positive coping skills and helped me set better boundaries, and honestly, just really how to love myself. BetterHelp is entirely online and is designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule.
Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. And I've said it before, and I will say it again, having it designed online to be convenient and flexible to fit your schedule can really aid in making sure that you are actually able to fit in that important therapy session regardless of your busy schedule. Make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/momdad today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/momdad. BetterHelp.com/momdad. Should we just dive into
Absolutely.
this?
Let's get into it.
Dive right in.
Yes,
And
please.
again, if you've been following along, we're going to start recapping from the top Golden Bachelor. And then after we're finished recapping Golden Bachelor, we're going to dive into Bachelor in Paradise, baby.
Let's go.
Okay, so this episode of the Golden Bachelor, we start off right off the top with Teresa showing Faith how she exercises. And she's like, this is how I do it. Watch this. And she's just performing for Faith.
Well, it was weirder than that. She goes, I'm gonna exercise. So it was, I don't even think it was like, this is how I do it. It was like, I'm gonna exercise. It was like the first time she had ever exercised. And she's like, I'm gonna exercise. And she starts just moving her arms. And she goes, I think I'm gonna do it this way. And then she goes, I don't know what I'm doing. So it was almost like she had maybe seen someone else work out.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm not going to do all that. But like, maybe this is a way I could do it.
I very much related to her in that moment.
Yeah. She just moves her arms like this. Like she's kind of throwing punches.
That moment to me was kind of the definition of Teresa,
Yes.
which also then led me to really see, at least from my perspective, the behind the scenes with Kathy and Teresa and why Teresa is downloading the way she is. That moment of her being like, Faith sitting there and she's like, watch this. You know, and she's kind of just...
She's kind of like a 5-year-old. You know what I mean? You know, I saw this hilarious meme the other day. It was like a video the other day. It said what it's like to be a parent. And the kid walks up to the dad and he goes, hey, Dad, watch this. And he just goes like this. He just like moves his shoulders and kind of dances, but like not good. And the dad just goes, cool, man.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's what Teresa's like. Teresa just kind of comes over and goes, woo, woo, woo.
She's like,
woo,
watch
woo.
this. Woo, woo,
Yeah, woo, woo, woo.
She's
And then
like-
everybody's like, okay, I mean, I don't know what you want me to do with that.
Because even then when we see Trista, you know, our first bachelorette come in and all the
Yes.
ladies are like, oh my God, it's Trista. Teresa right away was like, oh my God, let me tell you absolutely everything. First date, he pulled up in this car. He absolutely wooed my heart. There was a flash mob. And this is a moment where everyone is like talking to Trista.
Yeah.
And I just wish that we would have seen how long Teresa was talking about it.
Yeah.
It was just like a moment where we saw Teresa and it made me feel like, I just think Teresa is just this doll. I think she's just a sweet, sweet woman
Yes.
who just like, I want everybody to know. Let's all celebrate together. Watch me work out. Listen about my date. We're all talking about it.
I do feel like I believe her.
Yes.
When she talks about how like she wouldn't have a problem if someone was talking to her the way she's talking about things.
Oh yeah, when Kathy was like, how would you feel if
Yeah.
I came in and I said, Gary's going to get rid of you? And she'd be like, well, I guess that would just be how it's going to be.
Yeah.
I believe her.
I believe that like if Kathy was walking up to her being like, and then she came to my room, it was so sweet, that Teresa would go, oh my God, that is so sweet.
Yes.
And so when you're living in your own world a little bit, it is confusing when people are having an issue because you're going, I don't really understand how that could be offensive to you.
Yeah, I feel like Teresa is just kind of this sweet, like, I get the picture of it is Faith sitting there and her going like, hey, watch this.
Yeah.
You're just like in face just kind of
It's
watching
just like,
her.
I mean, I'm not bothered by this, but I also am just so confused on what's happening right now.
That's the definition of Teresa to
Yes.
me. I feel like the Teresa Kathy piece, I love that we got some drama cooking, but I feel like it is just the perfect example of two people who could not be more different in the way that they see the world and the way that they analyze things.
Like
It just-
Teresa has never been sarcastic in her whole life.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like Teresa screams to me kind of maybe like never had like siblings roast her.
Yeah.
And like, you know, because like there is this thing that when you have siblings or you have friends that are like really sarcastic, you kind of got to stay on your toes because you're afraid of getting roasted
Sure.
for behavior. She hits me as someone that like has never hung out with someone that was sarcastic because she's like, who wouldn't want to see this? You know what I mean? And it's kind of like if you were with certain friends, they'd be like, what are you doing? And then you'd be like embarrassed and you kind of develop like,
Yeah.
but she seems to be like, she lived in like, you know, unicorn land where like
Yeah.
everyone's just been nice her whole life. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah.
where Kathy's the opposite. Kathy is so sarcastic and so like quick funny that like you could tell that she's like, okay, you got to be funny. You can't, you know, be
Yeah, she's had to be
embarrassing.
like prepared to the table to throw back
Exactly.
some
Kathy's
zingers.
reminds me a lot more of like my upbringing.
Oh, for sure. She
Which
definitely.
is like a little bit of survival of the fittest, a little bit of like, you know.
I also feel like for you, I feel like Kathy would be like dream mom vibes.
Kathy
You'd be
cracks
like,
me up.
You love Kathy. She is like your dream mother. I feel like you two together, you would love to have a meal with Kathy.
Teresa is so full of like sweet, innocent joy.
Yeah.
I don't even understand it. I'm kind of like, what is that? Like people exist like that? People actually live their lives just like they walk outside and they're like, oh my goodness, the grass is just so green today. You know what I mean? Like she's got that just, you know, it's unicorn poop that's made of, you know, what is that? What's like
You mean like the rainbow?
yeah, like rainbow, like yeah, exactly.
rainbow
Just like
squishies?
everything's amazing, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I do want a piece of that though. I want a little bit of that Teresa.
Oh, for sure.
Teresa
for sure.
love.
But I just picture you and Kathy. You know, I picture her literally being like your dream mother and you two just at brunch together, like over a drink, just kind of like talking shit.
Oh yeah, big time. She cracks me up.
Okay, well, like I said, we end up having Trista show up and everyone is oh so excited. And she announces that they are going to be having a group date, except Leslie will be getting the one-on-one.
Yes.
So everyone except Leslie is going to a pickleball group date.
Yes.
Now, Evan, we see a lot of athletic dates
Yes.
in this franchise. We see a lot
Yes.
of competitive dates. This might have been my favorite.
Yeah, it had so many good elements to it. One was the age appropriate element. It was kind of a nod to their age, being like, oh, you know,
Yes.
people of this age generally play pickleball.
Because Lord knows if I pulled up my phone right now and called my mom and all of her friends, my father, my stepmom, and I just said the words pickleball,
They're
they'd
like,
be screaming on the
when
other
and
end.
where?
Yeah.
That was Ellen. Ellen was like, this is what I've been waiting for my whole life.
Well, Ellen, throughout this season, when it says what she does underneath, it says like pickleball co-captain. Like that
Co-captain.
is her profession. Like that is what she
Yeah.
does now 24/7.
And I'm getting the feeling that there's a captain and then she created co-captain a little bit. You know, like she really wanted to be like,
Sure,
in a leadership role. Because what's a co-captain? Are you a pilot?
I'm not sure.
There's
but
two people on a team. Of course you're the co-captain.
no, if, like,
You know
the
what I mean?
entire-
There's two of you. Everybody's a co-captain if you're not the captain. So you can't call yourself the co-captain. That's like saying I got second in the race. Well, there was two people racing.
I think there are pickleball leagues where there are many people.
Maybe. I'm just saying. It'd be like, I got second in the race. It's like, no, you got last because there was two people racing. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
That's a positive spin on life.
That is a positive spin on life, and she does seem that way. But she also crushed out on the pickleball court.
She was really good.
But it was one of my most favorite.
It was really good
of the team athletic because
it showed everybody's personality too.
It showed everyone's personality. Everything about it was just so well done. Everyone with their different uniforms, the names, the fact that they bring out Joey. We get a Joey cameo, as then he's gonna be
kind of alluding, hey, what's up? This is our bachelor. Kind
this
of
is our bachelor.
Although they didn't get much shine. If I felt that way.
Joey got 2 seconds.
It was like, hey, Joey, and then they cut to him 3 times, and then that was it.
That was called contracts. That's called a contract.
Yeah, that is interesting.
That's a contract. But I kind of love that they were like, bye, we have more interesting things.
Yes. And I love how
these ladies are more interesting.
Yeah. Honestly, they're absolute rock stars. And I loved how, because obviously Joey's a very good looking guy, very charming guy. And I like how Kathy was like, well, it's always like a backup. You know what I mean?
He's like, hello.
I mean, let's go.
Hello, Joey. But then even when they had Trista, Jesse Palmer, and Gary as judges, the whole commentary, everything was just so fun.
It was
so right. The ladies were dive bombing. Their ITMs were perfect.
Yes.
It was just a 10 to me. I was fully entertained the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but of course, my most favorite part came from the woman who I didn't think could become more iconic, but somehow surpassed from icon to eternal legend.
Yes.
Eternal legend of this franchise. Because at one point, April, my literal god.
By far the least athletic person on that. That it was hilarious watching her. She was just like, what am I doing? She missed every ball.
It was going all over the place. And when I was watching that, I felt her. I saw her because that would have been me out on the court. And I'm like, damn, one of these dates, all these women who are playing pickleball, if I would have been out there and I'm whiffing it around everywhere, I'd be kind of panicking. What would I do? And then as soon as I thought to myself, what would I do? April then falls, okay? Now, here's the thing. The second I saw her fall, I thought in my head, that looked kind of fake, but then I felt like a raging bitch, terrible person to assume oh my God, this poor woman got hurt, and to think that it looked like a fake fall. Well, all the ladies come, they're comforting her. Gary comes all up. She's like, oh, leave us, and leans into him, and it is oh so drama. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful. And he's comforting her, and then she looks in the ITM sideways. And she says, by the way, I'm totally fine. Winks
legendary
at
move.
The camera.
Legendary
she faked the fall, and then she winked in the ITMs at the camera, and she
which is what has been talked about forever, which is everyone who gets hurt in any moment, they get a little moment of one-on-one.
Yes.
It's the classic move.
And then sometimes, it ends up being a very extended thing. And sometimes the injuries are really bad.
Yes.
And then it's a nightmare. But when there's, a little bit of a fall, you're oh, you end up getting some time. This woman came in and was fact of the matter is, there's 2 things happening. Number 1, Gary and I, we really haven't gotten a lot of time. Number 2, I don't like pickleball and I don't want to play. You know
what's interesting about
it was so iconic.
It was so iconic.
I couldn't even believe it. And then all the sweet women in the ITMs are oh wow, I've hurt myself before and that really sucks. Poor thing. And they're being so supportive. Meanwhile, she faked the entire thing.
You know what's fascinating to me about April?
Yeah.
Is that she has this incredible charm about her that screams, I don't really need to be here. I don't need to be anywhere because the world is like my playground.
Yeah.
And she just does things that are funny. It almost feels like everything she does is for her.
Oh, yeah.
Just even that moment was just for her to laugh and her to kind of joke with her friends about.
It was self-amusement
I didn't even feel like it was about Gary. I almost just felt like she thought it was just going to be funny and she thought the ladies were going to laugh about it and she kind of was going to get an ITM moment. And then later on we see her, doing the saging of the house, but it doesn't feel like it's even to make the other girls laugh. It almost just feels like it's her and it's a funny moment to her. She's just in her own world and it's it doesn't matter if anyone's even there. She would have done the same behavior.
100%. April
She
is
floats. She's just not really a part of everyone else's insecurities, and she's not everyone else is talking about I haven't got enough time, and I'm like our connection. She never said one word about any of that stuff. She just happens to be on the show, and she'd act the same way if she was or wasn't on the show.
She is very much the energy of someone who's like, do it for the plot.
Yes.
Like she lives life for the plot, for at the end of the day that she can giggle about whatever little trouble she got into or what she said.
She's the lead in her own movie, and everyone else is just actors.
24/7, and you know what? That's the energy I want in my life. The April energy is the energy I want. That's like every day is a little bit like, what's my story going to be today?
Exactly.
God,
Exactly.
I love so much. That was such a legendary move. I will
was so
never
fun.
get over it. It will go down in history, in the history books of The Bachelor. I feel like probably Clues and Pace Case are losing their mind right now looking at the move of like the blatant, I'm not hurt.
She's definitely writing some chapters in their book.
I know.
She's brilliant.
God,
I love
she's
her.
Absolutely brilliant. And then meanwhile, God, poor Nancy did end up getting hurt.
And
she got some sort of like fracture.
And it was an afterthought too. They just like, meanwhile, it was like later on during the like cocktail hour or whatever.
She had a boot on.
She had a full boot on.
And then she ended up going.
Yeah.
Sorry, spoiler,
Yeah.
but she ended up going, which was so sad. Askin was broken up.
It's worst case scenario to break your leg and then go home. That's kind
I
of worst
know.
case scenario.
I know, God.
Because now now you're home single with an injury. It's
I
like,
know.
oh, it's kind of the double whammy there.
But we got to know her.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
God, we love you. We love you. Okay, so anywho, the teams were put together and the showdown began, and immediately when I saw that Ellen and Kathy were teamed up, I was like,
it's
this is
over.
a powerhouse. This
It's
is an
over.
absolute powerhouse. The imagery going on, like it's like the Dodgeball movie. It's
Yes.
incredible. Then we have a moment where Jesse very nonchalantly turns to Gary and is like, and because Sandra's crushing it too.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Sandra's out there. By the way,
Sandra like dove into the crowd to get a ball.
she dove into the crowd. Sandra is 75 years old.
And she has double replacement knees.
So
I have a knee injury. There's no way I'm playing pickleball.
no, you could
No
never.
way.
I wouldn't even let you. I'd be like, absolutely not. You're going to end up back in the ER.
And she's double knee surgery, diving for balls into the crowd.
75. Okay? So Jesse Palmer nonchalantly says to Gary, by the way, everybody, she also has had double knee replacement surgery, and today is her daughter's wedding.
That was a wild fact.
And Evan and I looked at each other right away and we're like, was that a joke? Like, is it really?
You thought it was a joke. You're like, no, they're joking.
I was like, they're
And I'm
joking. It's
I
not her
think
daughter's
it's serious. I could feel the entire audience of the show kind of just like hold their breath.
Wait, what?
Like, I don't know how to feel about this. Did you kind of caught that vibe? Like half of me's like going, wow, good for you. And then half of me's like, really? You know what I mean? Like, and it's funny because later on, he has the exact same response.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, oh.
He had to check in. He
Yeah,
was
he's
like,
shit, I should have known about that. Like, he's looking at producers being like, is this real? Like,
yeah, he's like, so you're here. He's like, that's a really big day. And then she ended up having that statement from her daughter, which was so sweet, where she was like, my daughter said, hey, Mom, I already got my man. You go out and you get yours. That made me want to cry.
yeah,
I'm like,
really supportive.
so supportive. And then they were FaceTiming them and it was so sweet. And I was like, you know what? Sandra is out here. Sandra
Dedicated to the cause.
Dedicated to the
you cannot
cause.
doubt her dedication.
Her dedication is 100. She's out here 75 diving for pickleballs. She is having conversations with her daughter. Her daughter's like, you get out there, you get on this show. She is, God bless, she ended up getting sick in bed, but she's sleeping through the rose ceremony. Sandra is just like another icon of this game. I don't know. It's just, again, it's stuff that it'll be written down in the history books for forever.
It's interesting. I'm feeling a little bit like it'll be interesting to see how this goes, because I know that if I was Gary, I would feel added pressure.
Oh, you mean because of
certain things, because of the missing of the wedding, and I'm just feeling a little bit like he's such an empathetic person.
Yeah.
That I don't know. I'm just afraid. I'm not afraid, but I'm also just interested in knowing, like, will he kind of go along with something too long because he feels bad about cutting someone because they sacrifice so much? So it'll be interesting to see. Like I could already just tell in him, he's kind of like this. No way. You left your daughter's wedding? Here's a rose. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's the case.
I fully disagree with you.
All right. He's just such an empathetic king that I'm like, I wonder if...
He is an empathetic king, but here's the bottom line. He's also the guy who literally, when he was sitting with Nancy, who had just broken her leg with a boot on, or her ankle, and she was just like, I just feel like you have a lot more passion with some of the other women, right? And he's like, yeah, we don't have to string the process along.
Okay.
I think if he's not down... If it's not like who he sees in his future, he's cutting.
Okay.
That's what I think.
All right, we'll see.
So I think for Sandra, I think he's interested.
Oh, I think he's definitely interested in 100%. And I also think it's like maybe a good call to just show him how dedicated she is. But I am wondering, I have sensed a little bit in him that when someone told him something that was intense, he kind of immediately rose. Now that might be coincidence.
Right, or like the Kathy moment.
Exactly. There's just been a couple moments where someone kind of like is struggling or something intense happens, and then he immediately hands him a rose. So I don't know, again, if that's empathy or if it's like it just is coincidentally he's connecting with him and he would have given them the rose anyway. So I don't know. We'll see.
Interesting. Yeah,
and
we'll see.
The reason why I bring it up is I feel like it could lead to like a more of a bubbling problem towards the end where he has to let someone go, but he feels so bad about it and it wrecks him. And I don't know. We'll see. I disagree.
Okay,
I love that.
So we'll see. Okay, so the ending of the pickleball match is the Picklelicious Paddles versus Bitchin' Kitchen, and the Picklelicious Paddles with Ellen and Kathy end up winning, and that means that they get to be on the cover of In Pickleball, I believe the name of the magazine.
In Pickleball. I kept thinking that we're messing it up. Like, they're in Pickleball.
What?
The name of the magazine is In Pickleball.
Yeah.
So they're in Pickleball. So they said they're going to be on the feature in Pickleball magazine. And so I kept thinking inside Pickleball magazine.
Wait, is it in Pickleball or is it Pickleball magazine?
No, it's not Pickleball magazine. It's in Pickleball magazine.
Are we sure now?
I'm almost 1,000% sure.
Is it in Pickleball magazine, or are they going to be in Pickleball magazine, or are they going to be in Pickleball magazine?
In Pickleball magazine. It's not in Pickleball magazine.
What were you talking about?
Yeah,
now
here we go.
I understand.
Pickleball magazine. In Pickleball magazine. In Pickleball.
It's in Pickleball.
In Pickleball.
Like starting quotation in Pickleball quotation.
Yes.
Okay.
It is in quotation in Pickleball quotation magazine.
Okay.
So confusing.
So confusing.
Maybe they did that so you could say, "Oh, have you read In Pickleball magazine?" But I guess you would already do that.
It's so confusing.
So
change
confusing.
The title.
Change the name.
Change the name of the magazine. Love the product. But
great read.
Incredible read. But let's change the name of
Change the name. They're going to be in Pickleball magazine. And they're like, sorry, what?
Say what again? them calling their daughters, honey, I'm going to be in Pickleball magazine. Yeah. Like, wait, what?
I just made the cover of in Pickleball magazine.
Well, they were thrilled. I mean,
Ellen was like, yes!
Listen, Ellen
She became a god amongst her peers.
Oh, she is like, I cannot wait to go back and slam this in fucking Barbara's face. Because Barbara, who claims to be the captain, when I put in all the work as the co-captain, Barbara's about to see another thing coming when I come in. And I'm like, guess what, Barb?
Guess who's the new captain now?
Just throw it on the court. Be like, oh, anybody read the latest edition of in Pickleball magazine?
It's so interesting.
Oh, is that me? Oh my God, an entire write-up about me.
Oh, the cover. So
as a
shocking.
winner of the Bachelor Pickleball tournament.
If she gets Gary and is on the cover, I mean, she's a god. She goes back to that country club and they're like, she's going to come in and they're going to have her hoisted above their heads. Like,
Ellen has been winning. Like, she's been winning. You know what I mean? Like, she's coming in, she's getting the special picture, she's getting the date with all the diamonds and the dresses. She wins the cover of in Pickleball magazine.
If she gets Gary, it's just too much. It's just too much. It's so much winning.
She's out here thriving, and it makes me so happy. You can just tell. She's like, this is the best. So far, this is the best 2 weeks I can remember. I made a ton of new friends. This hottie is vibing on me. He's treating me like a princess. I'm on the cover of In Pickleball magazine. Like, life could not be more grand. God, I love it so
You know,
much.
she deserves it too.
She absolutely deserves it. Well, they end up then having the after party post the pickleball date. Like we said, Sandra and Gary had their moment where they FaceTime. They were so cute trying to figure out. They were struggling trying to get the FaceTime going.
That was a great, just like, you know, grandma and grandpa
That was
moment.
such a sweet moment.
That was
Again,
well
I'm
played.
like, also me.
Yeah.
Like, I can't.
But it was just so like, that's, you know, it's like, am I doing this right? And then, you know, they're like looking at themselves and it's like the bad upshot. It's like, you know, if you FaceTime grandma and grandpa, that's the energy you get.
It's
It was
the
perfect.
most heartwarming of all things. But I was so happy that he gave Sandra the rose. That means we get to see her for another week. And
Yeah.
she just tickles me to my core.
Yes.
Absolutely, from day one. Then we have another Kathy and Teresa conversation.
Yeah.
Now, Teresa's checking in, and Kathy basically is just shooting it straight right away, where she's like, don't tell me anything that's going on. It makes me feel anxious. She explains why the rose ceremony incident then made her feel anxious afterwards. And Kathy then says to Teresa, it's a matter of being kind. And Teresa's like, I wasn't trying to be unkind. And here's the thing. Again, it's two people just so different, ships in the night, where from Kathy's perspective, she's like, there's no way that this woman doesn't have a strategy and is intentionally trying to rub my face in this. And Teresa can't even compute the term unkind because she's made of cinnamon and cream and honey and gummy bears. And she's just like, what unkind? Like, I've never even heard of it.
I live on Unicorn Mountain and there we don't have any meanies.
She's like, what are you talking about?
The thing I love about Kathy is that Kathy's got the opposite of whatever Teresa, like Teresa's like, hi, so I wanted to talk to you because, and you're amazing, by the way. I wanted to talk to you about a little moment that happened that I felt like we were still not quite resolved. And I just wanted to make sure everything's totally fine. And Kathy doesn't have the like, Teresa, you're amazing. And I totally understand. Kathy goes, yeah, you're right. Here's all the ways that you're messed up. Like Kathy doesn't have like any sort of like, let me soften the blow.
No.
She just goes right at it. Like there is
Right at
zero, let me warm this up. Let me meet you in the place you're at. No. It's just, you're going to get it straight up.
And it's so funny because I feel like if it would have been someone other than Teresa that was going head to head with Kathy, like I would feel probably more for that person because I'd be like, oh, this whole thing is probably really stressing them out. But Teresa is just so like cotton candy that it's almost like she can handle it though too simultaneously. It's a strange thing where you're like, oh, these two wouldn't be friends. But simultaneously, Teresa seems like she can handle when Kathy's looking at her going, zip it, where someone else might have a meltdown. Teresa ends up telling Gary about the zip it, and it's not like she's crying or getting upset. She's like, and then she told me to zip it.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like she can handle it in some way.
She's looking at it like outside world versus like, I think many of the other women, they would get into like a match with Kathy and they would get at each other and they'd be maybe yelling at each other because they'd be going back and forth.
Do you think that I have bad intentions?
Exactly.
And Teresa to me, doesn't have any bad intentions. And it's like, it's not even.
She doesn't even compute.
Like, what?
She's like, okay, it's the words I'm saying. I'll work on that.
Right. And so, but then Kathy is just getting so frustrated and she's just saying, don't kiss and tell. And then she gives her the friendly advice to zip it, which like I fell out of my chair.
I love it. Like she has no filter. She's just right for it. And my favorite is later when Teresa's talking to Gary about the situation where she goes, yeah, and then she's being really sweet. She goes, yeah, and then Kathy told me to zip it. She kind of threw a little zest on the end of it, and I was like, oh shit.
Well,
like that's how she felt. Like she felt like attacked by that.
There was also an interesting moment because she was like, hey, just so you know, from day one, Gary, Kathy always said to me that I'm the one.
Yeah, which shows a lot about the like insecurity of Kathy in the process, not her as a person, but in the process, that like she probably had made mention earlier on, like, wow, it seems like you and Gary have like a lot connected. Maybe you're the one. And then Teresa's just like, yeah, maybe. And you're like, no, you're supposed to tell me I have a shot at this too.
Yeah, she's like, oh my God, Kathy thinks I am. And that's probably then where we are getting lost, is that Kathy feels then maybe like, oh shit, you know, Teresa, it's clearly the front runner. And so she probably thinks she is in kindness, just being upfront and saying, by the way, T, I think you're the one. And she's expecting T to come back with compliments.
Like, no, you could be too.
Or not even
together.
But like, oh my God, girl, you'd be amazing with him, or like he'd be lucky to have you. And T probably just was like, oh my God, yeah, I know.
I think so
he
too.
He said all the nicest things to
you're
me,
like-
and I feel like we have the best connection. And Kathy's just like, this is the part where you compliment me.
Yeah, it's like if you compliment someone's like outfit, and you're like, oh my God, I love your outfit. And they're just like, thanks. And you're like,
nothing
And?
back.
and that's basically what, and like Kathy probably kept doing that and it just drove her nuts.
I know. That's that's what it just reeks of
Yeah.
to me. But Gary did not like to hear the zip it comment. That is very anti our sensitive, loving, communicative king's energy.
Also very anti the house. The energy has been nothing but just like everyone getting along, having a great time.
Right, so it's like the
he's
first time he's hearing
"What?"
news of like confrontation.
Yes.
Even though, again, the confrontation was
It's
so mild.
compared to what we're used to. It was like, I actually don't like strawberries, and it's like, well, I do like them. It's like, well, I'm reporting this to the authorities. You know what I mean? Like it's so mild compared to actual confrontation.
But Gary is like, that is not his
Red
vibe.
flag vibes.
That is not his vibe. So he's like, I'm going to speak to Kathy immediately. And it made me laugh because all I could think about is like, oh my God, of everyone, like of all time ever, Gary being disappointed or upset at me would devastate me.
He has an energy of like, he's so gentle. It's like Santa being mad at you. You're like, oh sorry, Santa.
So I'm saying we're like he's Aslan, he's
Yeah.
Jesus, he's Santa, he's all these things. It's this energy of, oh my God, if he's upset at me, if he is disappointed, I got nothing left.
Exactly.
Like I got nothing left. So when he sat down with Kathy, all I could think about is being in Kathy's shoes, and I'd be like, I'd be devastated. If one day we met GGT and I said something that like bummed him out and I saw the disappointment.
Disappointed in your podcast. I noticed there was some being slightly critical of some of the people on the show.
Evan, you literally even
Like,
saying
I'm
this is making my
sorry.
eyes fill with tears, and I feel like we need to end the podcast now. I'm like, what if we disappoint GGT?
We absolutely already have. Don't worry
Stop,
about
don't say
that. We are absolutely already have.
Don't say that. I just need to know so I can sleep at night that he's proud of me.
He's proud of you,
I
babe.
need him to be proud of me.
Yeah, he's probably a really good boss. Like he seems to inspire people versus fear. You know, like there's two ways. There's like the leadership of like fear, like I don't want to get mad at me,
Yeah.
or there's the like I don't want to disappoint him. He has that big dad boss energy.
Well, he's feeling disappointed,
Yeah.
and he sits down with Kathy, and she says that basically all the date info that she was getting from Teresa felt super hurtful. And Gary was like, "You told her to zip it?" Okay. And then Kathy's trying to backpedal, and he's like, I'm beginning to see a rift here that I'm not happy about, Kathy. And she's like, I'm no villain, okay? She wants to make the clear. She's like, I'm not a villain. She's like, producers,
the first villain edit.
do not make me a villain on this thing. We all know that I'm hilarious, I'm fun, I'm no villain, okay? Which I don't feel like she got painted really as a villain on this show.
No, but I
'cause
will
she's so likable.
say it was so smart by Teresa, if it was slightly intentional, because it was done in a way that was like, I'm ahead of you, and I'm not going to say this in a way that's like brutal, but I'm just going to lay a little droplet in his brain of like, yeah, everything's fine. It's just that, you know, I love Kathy. She's one of my great friends. She just has a side to her that I think is a little shocking. Like, that's kind of the way she did it. And
Yeah, but he asked her first.
No. I'm not saying she did it intentionally.
Yeah.
I'm saying just the perfect timing too. The rose ceremony, like everything was coming right at that moment, and I just felt it was the little nudge he needed to like confirm, I actually don't think we're going to keep you around kind of vibe. And I felt with the second it got brought up and they were talking, I thought that's it.
I know.
There's no way she comes back from this.
No, I know.
Because what dwindling connection they had, that
I know.
now she's a part of drama, it's over.
He was done. Well, again, group date goes to Sandra. And then we have Leslie's one-on-one. And these two are out here on ATVs. They are cruising. They are going on rough roads. I'll be real with you. I would be nervous to do this.
Yeah.
And they were out here. He is being like such a gentleman. He
Yes.
lets her go first. And then he zips behind her and is making sure that she is safe and comfortable. And then after they're done ATVing, the dynamic with Leslie and Gary is like she gives him all these compliments.
Yeah.
And he looks at her with stars in his eyes. He stares at Leslie more than he stares at anybody else. And we all know
Yeah.
that GGT has like incredible eye contact that he does not break, but Leslie will be looking in a different direction, and the way he drinks Leslie in,
he
drinks her in like a fine Cabernet. He really does.
You know, you guys all know I don't drink red wine, so I'm going to say a fine Sauvignon Blanc.
Perfect. Chardonnay. Sure.
He definitely had, like, I feel like when you look at all the women, he has different connections with each one.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he has the strongest, like, one of the strongest, like, romantic, va-va-voom, make-out kind of energies towards her.
Yes.
I feel like she's the leader in that pack. Like,
Agreed.
there's the Teresa. I feel like there's wifey vibes there. I think, obviously, wifey vibes with everybody, but there's, like, Teresa has a really strong one. Ellen has, like, life partner vibes.
Yeah.
Leslie has, like, you know, I met this woman and I can't get her out of my mind.
Yeah.
Hot for her. He has hot for her energy. So it'll be interesting to see how, like, the emotional side connects, but it seems like it's 10 out of 10 right now.
She, I love her energy.
She's like young but wise. It's like she's like young on the younger side of the crew, but like wise and kind of quiet and calm. So I feel like he's really she creates like a really great mixture.
Yeah, where there's like the youthfulness and them like zipping around in their ATVs. I could see Leslie and Gary being young at heart for forever together, and then like physically out there, you know, being they both enjoy like physical activities and all of this. But she does have this energy of, like you said, that wisdom. And she's very she makes me feel very warm inside, and she makes me feel, when I'm watching it, like Leslie's the type of person who, when I'm watching it, she reminds me of my Aunt Liz. You know my Aunt Liz?
Yes, of course.
Who is the person who, when I would have a hard day when I was younger, I would want to go over to my Aunt Liz's house, and she'd, you know, pull up some hot tea and sit down with me and be like, okay, honey, let's talk about it.
Yes.
It's very low key, and we could kind of laugh about some stuff, but it's like, all right, honey, deep breath. You tell me everything that's going on. That's the Leslie energy, and I like it.
But still also young enough in her energy to be like, I'm down to go grab ATVs and go. So it's a weird mix. You know, it's a great mix. It's kind of got this like GGT might with someone who's like too energetic.
She's out there dancing her face off.
That's what I'm saying. But
like
with someone who's
dancing.
too energetic, you know, he might feel like I won't be able to keep up with this very long.
Yeah.
Because I'm in my 70s. Give me 10 more years, and it's like you're still going to want to be jet setting. But she has an energy that like she can play both ways.
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah.
I feel that way. Well, we find out as well that she says that she doesn't have the best picker. She says that she's been divorced twice, and that she's a single mom. She's been single for 22 years. So that's a long time.
That means like she got divorced in like 40s or something.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
And she also lets him know that if it wasn't him that was there currently, that she would leave. And I have to tell you, I believe it. Leslie's one of the ones. Now, I'm not saying I think all of them have like massive hard eyes for Gary, because who wouldn't, obviously.
Right.
But Leslie's one of the ones where from the get, I'm like, oh, she really likes Gary. Like, it's not just the process. It's like very drawn to Gary.
She doesn't feel very enthralled with the process.
Yes.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
think about this. Prince wrote a song about her. She's
Oh my God.
That's her.
That's her.
She has lived. She's seen the stars, honey. She has seen the Walk of Fame. She has been.
I would be a little intimidated if I was Gary. Be like, you dated Prince, dude? That means you're rolling deep with like the high level people.
But
like,
think about how special that would make you feel.
Super
then,
special,
too.
but also just kind of like, woof, like you're used to some cool people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. But think about this though. What you're saying doesn't seem enthralled with the process, because it's like, yeah, I've been there, done that. You're right. This is not spectacular to me. This is about finding love, and I saw Gary, and I am connected to Gary. And like she says, I'd be gone if it weren't for you, and I believe it.
I'd want to date her just to hear about Prince. Just be like, what was he like? And
God, I have so many questions.
a lot of questions.
For her.
Can you tell me stuff I don't know about him?
So many questions. But then we see the appearance of the hot tub that has traveled across the world makes an appearance. Finally, we see the hot tub, and Gary and Leslie get in that hot tub, and a moment happened that made me pause the TV. I screamed. I Googled. I freaked out in the best way possible. Gary has a tattoo, everyone, that I didn't notice before. And Gary has a lion tattoo on his arm. And the second I saw that, I go, oh my God, if he is a Leo, that tattoo, it's got to be, right? It's got to be connected to the fact that he's a Leo. And is our King Gary an astrology god? Like, is he into the zodiac? I Googled, he indeed is a Leo.
I thought he was just a huge fan of like Aslan or something like that.
Well, it's also connected to the fact that we called him Aslan. He's got a lion tattoo. It's because he gives off Leo energy.
He does.
Right? So I'm like, oh my God, he's a Leo. He's got a lion tattoo. And I'm like, do we have a bachelor who is like into astrology? Thank God, yes, 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 and yes again. And then later in the episode, he gives Susan a rose quartz and talks about what that symbolizes. And I'm like, sure, people might say it's from the producers. I don't buy it. We've never seen a lead give someone a crystal. Gary is into crystals and he's got a Leo tattoo because he's a Leo, okay? I am choosing to believe that Gary is somehow even better than we thought he was and is like into astrology and into everything woo. I'm obsessed.
Yeah, he really is a unicorn when it comes to like boomers. You know what I mean? Like he definitely is like no boomer I've ever met. Like
he's
this
just
like
check
strong,
out this rose quartz.
handsome. Like where's he from again?
Indiana, I think.
It's a middle American, strong, handsome guy who's also like super empathetic and like is into astrology and crystals. It's like, dude, what is happening?
Like all of us are like, please, where are our Garys? You know what I'm saying?
He gives the rose quartz and then describes that it's like for people, you know, it's for empathy and it emphasizes on strength. And it's like, jeez, bro.
I mean, are you
gifts,
joking?
and he continues to give gifts.
I know.
And then
can't you connect though with the fact that we like it makes sense that he would be into astrology and like that crystal is from him.
He's so like when he listens to people, he like connects with them so deeply that it makes sense that he's into things like that because he's so connected spiritually.
Like he has to be like deep in his Reiki. He has 100%. To be connected spiritually in that way. Like I have to believe that he is.
I think that goes without saying.
Also, too, the whole we never even talked about last episode where he was discussing with Faith how he used to get on his motorcycle every day and decide, like flip a coin and say, am I going to go east or west? And then he would just go.
That's what I'm saying. He kept being cool guy with the sweet guy. Now you add to it this elevated, open-minded crystal king. And it's like, he's Superman. He's got like the tough guy riding his motorcycle. He's got the artistic side. I don't know. I just flip a coin and fly off into the wind. He's got the responsible business owner, successful guy thing. And then he's also got the empathetic crystal. It's just like, what is happening, dude?
He's making everybody look bad.
He's
all
like
the men
Pinterest
look bad out
board
here.
of a man. He really is. He's a walking Pinterest board. And he's super handsome. So it's like, dude, dude, come on. Like, save some for the rest of us. You know what I mean?
That just made my heart explode. You know, when I saw that lion tattoo and that Google came up that he's a Leo, I was just like, absolutely. So obviously they were making out in that hot tub.
Hard.
It was passionate.
It was not smoochies. It was like a grab.
It was very passionate.
Yeah.
It was very passionate. By the way, this is all simultaneously happening while the ladies of the house are back home doing something we've never seen from this franchise. Again, these women are out here winning the show.
Just having a ball.
They're playing Never Have I Ever while eating ice cream. And it was something that I could have watched for hours. Like, genuinely, I wanted it to keep going. I'm like, keep asking questions. Keep asking questions.
Generally, when I see people in the house, I'm like, I don't necessarily want to hang out with those people. Just because it's like, it's just a little weird. I wanted to hang out with those ladies so bad.
Can you imagine how fun it would have been?
It was a hang, dude.
Can you imagine how fun it would be to have been on the couch with those women playing Never Have I Ever with them?
They're just having the funnest time ever.
Like,
best hang ever. To me, Susan and April, those two are my favorite. Those two are my favorite. They have something about them that is just, I want to hang with them so bad. I would love, I mean, we were talking about a podcast, the Askin podcast or whatever. To be honest with you, Susan, April, and like Kathy, those three would make a fire podcast. They're so different from each other, but they're also like bringing elements that are so unique to each other. Like
Imagine if those women, that crew sitting there playing Never Have I Ever, were your parents' friends. And when you got to go over to your parents' house, those are the people hanging out. Are you
Dude,
joking?
that'd be
I would never
amazing.
leave. I'd be like, I reject all of my own friends and I'm
Yes.
only ever hanging out with these people.
They're
But the
amazing.
questions that they were asking, Evan saw me, I was like crying, laughing when Susan goes, never have I ever kissed another woman's husband. And April dives into the ice cream. She goes, oh, that's me. And Susan's like, April, oh my
my
God.
gosh.
And then they're talking about sex in the workplace. And Sandra's like, when we were married, we had sex everywhere.
Yeah.
She's eating it. And she looks at the camera and she goes, well, I'm lactose, so I shouldn't be doing this.
Hence the next day when she sleeps through the whole ceremony because she's...
But she's like, we're having fun. I'm eating this. I'm doing Never Have I Ever. And then sex in the back of the car. April's just like front, back, steering wheel.
And then you got Kathy being like, oh my God, I've never done any of this. I got to catch up.
And then April's like, never have I ever been with another woman. And Susan looks at the camera. She's like, oh shit. And she starts eating it. I was like,
And it was
Susan, yes!
Dude, I will say they are. I think that's why they're characters.
They're the best.
They're the best.
They're the best. I am devastated that we had to say goodbye to Kathy and April during the rose ceremony. Devastated.
I'm gonna say this.
I need more.
know.
I need this show to go on longer. I feel like we're only going to get like 8 episodes
Kathy
or something.
and April were two of my favorites on the show.
I'm so devastated. Like the fact that Nancy's gone, Kathy's gone, April's gone, and now I'm scared with Susan and with Sandra. I'm like, no, I know more. No more. I need them. God, I can't get enough. I literally, I've never enjoyed watching people on my screen more in so many years that
Yes.
bring me pure joy. It was so good. But then they have the cocktail party. Of course, like we were saying, poor Sandra's tummy hurts because she was diving in.
She crushed
to
a gallon of ice cream and now she's paying the price.
And poor Nancy has a stress fracture. And we have the moment with Susan and Gary when he gives her the crystal, and that was such a special moment. And I was so happy for Susan because Susan is just such a diamond of a human
Yes.
being that she had a moment where Gary gave her the special gift, the rose quartz that is attributed to empathy and strength. And he was like, these are the qualities that remind me of Tony. And that's the highest compliment that I can pay somebody. And they're making out, and it is magic. And Kathy spots it, and she's popping out. And we're like, Kathy, go sit
Kathy's
back
like,
down and stop torturing
I
yourself.
know.
Susan comes in, and Kathy's like, what's in the box? What's in the box?
What's in the box?
She's like, open the box, open the box. And Susan's probably like, I don't want to.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
gonna
want you to
crush your
see it. She's
soul.
like, open the box. And then she sees the rose quartz, and it's like, you know, it's game over.
Susan is the sleeper. That's the one that it's I think going to shock us. Like, if I'm being honest with you, I didn't see Susan matching with him. I thought she was fun and energetic, but I just never really saw. Even when
Yeah.
they would talk, I'd be like, I don't see it. Like, I see them both being amazing people, but I just don't see it. I've been wrong. Every time they've gotten together, they've had like a hot makeout and like a really connected moment. So I think that Teresa is like the obvious one that feels like a shoe-in from the beginning. I feel like Ellen is right there too. I feel like Susan is the like, are we gonna see kind of something hit here
Bubble
that we
up.
didn't see coming?
Yeah.
And then she's like top 2 or 3. I don't know.
Maybe. Well, then we have the Ellen Gary moment, and she is feeling, nervous because she's telling us in ITMs that she's having those feelings of falling in love again, and
Yeah.
that it's scary at that age to be like, oh my God, I'm having all
Yeah.
these feelings coming up again. But she sits him down and she tells him that indeed she is falling in love with him.
Huge.
And that's huge. She's the first of the season too. And they kiss, and it was such a moment too where she was explaining to him like, it's hard for me to say these things because I am nervous. And as he's kissing her, he's like, I know all those emotions, like I'm in the same place. And he's saying in ITMs, like, when I think about hearing someone looking at me and saying, I love you, I immediately go back to the last person who said that to me, and that was my wife. And so I would, I would imagine that all those emotions bubbling up, it's just like, it's so many and they're all so different because you're feeling the love and excitement, but simultaneously like, grief that still is
Yes.
intertwined with that, like hearing those things for the first time
Absolutely.
and having then the memory of the one you love so dearly. And I felt like they saw each other in that moment. You know, like he was like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm feeling this and I'm feeling these complicated feelings, but they were kissing.
I think it's huge that she said that to him. I feel like that kind of put her in a higher level than probably everyone at that point.
I feel like
because
that means a lot
He
to
probably
him.
was feeling it, but he also can't be the one that says that because he's the lead.
Yeah.
And then she went and just jumped off the edge and did it.
Yeah.
I feel like that really secured her for a long time.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. Well, and again, then too, we have the Gary and Nancy where she essentially is like,
Yeah.
I see that we're
He's
not
like,
moving
"I
forward. And
understand."
he's like, yeah, I'm not going to dispute it. And when he was sending her home, all the women are just bawling.
Yeah, clearly she was kind of a favorite, a friend favorite.
Yeah, it seemed like everyone really connected with her and she seemed sweet and gentle and she was part of the Askin crew. So now it's just, well, now,
Ask. Well,
no, because now
depends.
April and Kathy are gone. So now it's just Susan's the only one left
It's just-
from the Askin crew. Susan's the only one left.
Wow.
Wow. It's really hitting Gary that he's
Yeah.
going to have to start saying goodbye to people. He is crying. He's struggling through this process. But then we have the rose ceremony. Obviously, Sandra and Leslie already have a rose. Then the first rose goes to Ellen, then Faith, Susan, Teresa, and going home are Kathy and April. And that was also a moment, such a typical Gary moment where he is so in touch and so empathetic and empathic, is that he asks to walk Kathy out.
Yeah.
He didn't ask to walk April out because it was almost like April kind of floated to him and skipped like a little ferry, and she was like, it was wonderful, and he said goodbye, and he could see she was okay. But Kathy, he saw, was really kind of affected by the process, and so he was like, I'd like to walk you out so that they could have a moment together. Kathy's just like, rejection's not fun. I might burn the house down before I leave.
God, I love her.
But next week, it looks like there's a lot of love and making out and traveling and wild adventures. But then simultaneously, we are seeing a lot of moments of Gary bawling,
Breaking
upset,
down.
saying, I think it's time for me to go. Now I'm like panicking for Gary.
Yeah.
Like, is this just going to be...
It's gonna boil. He's such an empathetic person. It's gonna really come to a boiling point.
Oh my God.
We see people far less empathetic break down for the same reason. So he is gonna. It's
so
gonna start
stressed.
when it starts coming down to the end. He's gonna really start feeling the pressure.
I'm absolutely so stressed out about it. But also very much looking forward to the next episode per usual. Even though I am so sad that the Askin crew has
I
been
know. The
dismantled.
April Kathy going home is really tough for me.
It's really hard.
Really
I
tough.
am really upset about that, but I am still looking forward to the next episode.
Yes, absolutely.
Back-
BIP time.
BIP, Bachelor in Paradise
Let's
time?
do it.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, first, obviously, we start off with the poop baby drama of it all and the way
Yeah.
that the production was editing this, where they were looking at making it look like a crime doc series, where it's
Yes.
like, it's been 9 days and 12 hours since Sam Jeffries.
Was discovered poopless.
I thought that the way that they edited at the front was really funny.
It
I know
was, yeah.
people are all just like, it's ridiculous. I felt like the intro was entertaining for that.
And then at the end, how they said that, like she still hadn't gone poop, so
I
it had been like
know.
maybe 2 more days.
I know.
Like, bro,
I know.
I don't understand. It's just this wild to me as a
Regular pooper.
avid pooper.
Gross.
The idea that you can't get it going
I know, it's terrible.
is wild.
It's terrible.
2 weeks of no poop has to feel like hell on earth.
Well, I will say that I did meet Sam actually at the FBoy premiere, so I'm assuming at this point we can report that she has pooped.
She still has not pooped.
I
That
did
was
not
a year
ask
ago.
her. I felt like that was an inappropriate way to start
But
the
the fact that
conversation.
she's there means the poop
The
happened.
poop has happened. But oh my God. Talk about the most lovely
Oh yeah.
person. One of the most lovely people I've ever met. Sam is just the most kind, lovely, beautiful person.
Especially post poop. I mean, could you imagine how
That
happy you would
post-poop
be?
glow?
Your eyes would see colors differently.
But I just felt so, we were talking a little bit. I was
horrible.
like, girl, I'm like, my heart, just the discomfort and then the way that it just wrapped, the fact that
Her whole
that was the whole
story arc was just poop
storyline
lady.
and that her and Aaron were connecting and then it
Yes.
ended like that. It was just such
Can
a
we
bummer.
talk about that a little bit?
I thought he was going to leave.
Well, I was blown away by the fact there wasn't even a debate.
I know.
Like usually there's a moment.
Of like, are you going
to leave? And,
Yes.
and he goes, you know what? I don't know if I should leave or not. Because that night was a rose ceremony.
Yes.
or like the day before.
The day after or something.
So like
Day after.
he knows, like I'm really confused. He knows the next night or that night, however this story, the next night is a rose ceremony that the women choose.
But
and I'm going.
We end up seeing a preview though that someone shows up right before the rose ceremony, so he knows that there's someone might pop out.
But I'm just thinking to myself, like maybe their connection really wasn't that strong then. For the fact that you were like, wait, I found this amazing person I really like.
Yeah.
The chances that I'm gonna fall in love and get chosen in 24 hours low for anyone. It's not even an Aaron comment. It's just anyone.
Sure.
I'm going. You gotta know that your chances are slim to none, that you're gonna find someone, connect with them
that
deep
quickly.
enough to where they will pick you. To where there was not even a debate. There wasn't like a moment where they were showing at least, oh, maybe I want to go. Maybe he just goes by.
That.
It was like,
I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about two things. I was like, number one, I feel like we saw just how like, I don't know, level-headed, calm, cool, and collected Sam is, that she was just like, hey, you know what? It was so nice to have this connection and maybe see you back in San Diego energy.
Is she in San Diego?
Yeah.
Even more reason for him to leave. That was, I don't know. I was shocked by that.
I was surprised by that too, but I was like, I felt like that showed a lot about Sam. And then also the other part is when all you can think about is needing to poop, you're like, just stay. I'm going to go. I don't want you to come back to the hotel room with me as I'm trying to have this process of pooping. True. Another thing is it has officially been made known that the doctor is a real doctor. And I am blown away. I am blown. Yes, because of the way that this doctor was discussing a poop baby and the way in which he went about it, the way in which they had him then in the intro as like a featuring Dr. Kelly. He was there. I'm like, this guy's fucking...
I took it as he's definitely a real doctor, but he's using this to get a little zest on his resume so that when he goes back to his practice, he can say like, featured on The Bachelor.
Then he's gonna have people come in and they're like, are you the Dr. Kelly?
Doctor? He's like, absolutely. And they're like, oh my God, huge fan.
That just becomes like his main practice is helping people who need to deliver poop babies.
Exactly.
Like
vacation poop babies.
Like he's like constipation is his main.
Exactly.
That's his main
practice.
field. Yeah. Understood.
Yeah.
Well, she had to leave, which was
wow.
That's
bad.
very sad. I know. It sucked. It just really sucked for her, and I felt for her. Mm-hmm. But then we end up having a new face come to the beach, and it is John Henry. John Henry,
and
our
the ladies go wild.
Our underwater welder, who, like JP said, has a job that is so dangerous.
Yes.
So scary to be so deep underwater. And this man is physically shaking when he's pulling the date card out. Like, he was so
his kryptonite
nervous.
is, he likes being in the dark underwater under full threat of pain. He's just not used to social interaction because he's on the water so much.
Well, and we find out later when he's on his date that he's like, I haven't been on like a proper date in like 7 years or something like that. He was saying that he's been really focused on his work and he loves what he does. Yeah. And now he's ready. John Henry gives me very much for the right reasons energy.
Yes,
he's
definitely.
so nervous to be there, right? He hasn't gone on a date in 7 years. The work that he does, he loves, and it's not a type of work that I imagine is like influencer focused.
Although it could be.
That would be.
Put a GoPro on and stuff like that.
That actually would be fire.
Like
TikTok.
Like finally something fresh.
Yeah, interesting. I like that.
John Henry, if you're out there, it's really time to start ramping up the social media element.
Well, all the girls are obviously
lose their minds.
They're just like, and we see Kat, who he pulls first, who I will say when they were sitting on their date, when they were sitting on the daybed talking, she seemed almost kind of like nonchalant to me. Like
very playing it off.
Like not her typical, because Kat is very good at like turning that flirt on. Yes. She seemed like she wasn't
uninterested,
vibing, but then we got the ITMs and she's like, I literally cannot even do anything but stare at him. He is the hottest man I've ever seen. So I was like, that was a little
strange.
Yeah, I couldn't quite read what was happening. Unless that was about someone else and they were frank inviting it.
That's true. It could have been like an old Tanner moment.
It could have been a Tanner moment because she didn't seem caught up when they were on that daybed.
Didn't seem interested at all. The only thing she did seem a little bit interested in was the fact that she made it clear that Avon and Kylie were pretty locked in, so I wouldn't even go there.
Pretty locked in.
Because John Henry said this, and I thought this was like, oh my God, dude, you are bad at dating. He goes, yeah, Kylie, she's a smoke show. And I was like, kind of weird, man. Like, you're talking to a girl that you might want to take out on a date. Like, I wouldn't recommend calling another girl a smoke show while
like,
talking.
At least he's honest.
Yeah, he's like, oh, yeah, and I'm also interested in Kylie. Woo!
God.
Do you know her? Because she's hot. And it was like, okay, like, maybe not the right move. I want to talk about the Kylie moment.
Uh-huh.
Okay. This was interesting to me.
It was a shocker.
She was sitting up with perfect posture, which is always a sign of like,
I'm interested.
I'm in full attention.
Yes.
She sits at full shoulders back, perfect posture, and goes, I would be very interested in going on a date with you. Cut to halfway through the episode, her on the bed with Avon going, you know what? I would never go on another date, and I'm not interested at all in anyone else. And I was kind of like, interesting.
I know.
What is going on with you? Then another moment with Kylie is when she's sitting with Mercedes, and she starts just talking about who's the top 4 hottest guys at the beach.
And she didn't say Avon, did she? Oh, she did later.
She did. But it was like,
Tanner.
Tanner. She goes, oh, Tanner. And then she brings up Tyler. Is Kylie having a moment?
Is she having second thoughts?
If she had, because it was like, this is an interesting edit. Whether this is true or not, whether they're putting together things differently.
Yeah, trying to make us
She brought up the
question.
game. Let's talk about who the hottest guys are there. I was like,
I would in those moments I was like, is she having second thoughts about
to say
Avon?
I would be very interested in going on a second date
second thoughts about Avon, but then again later in the episode they had like the talk and they decided that they were just going to be there for each other.
Yeah, but
could
it be that Kylie's like, you know what, I didn't get picked for that date and he was the only other person I was interested in, so I'm just gonna let it go now.
Maybe.
Which if I was Avon, I wouldn't have loved to see that on the replay.
No, understood.
So
interesting.
That was the shocker for me.
That was shocking. It's true. But then he pulls Olivia.
Yeah.
And I have to say, immediately, I was like, oh, John Henry, this is who you need to take out on the date, because Olivia seemed to crack him open.
Yes.
He was very tight. He was very nervous. Olivia is just so charming, so charismatic that she
funny.
immediately like loosened him up. And I'm like, John Henry, this is the person that you got to take on a date.
Big time.
This comes after we see a moment where Olivia and Peter are, mingling, and we find out that like they actually have interest in each other. We thought it was just kind of a rose exchange at first, but they're vibing, and Peter's like, I'm very interested in Olivia. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I don't see it. It's like a weird thing with them where it's like they do this thing and they're talking and I'm going, I see zero chemistry. And she's like warring with it. And I'm like, anyway, but I will say,
we also haven't seen any of them.
That's true.
But he also has, we find out that he hasn't kissed her or anything like that. So she's probably,
that's kind of more to my point.
She probably at first was feeling like, are you kind of friend zoning me?
We're on day
what's
3
going
together
on?
and you guys haven't made out yet? Like, how's that even possible?
Yeah. When John Henry says, Olivia, I'd like to take you out on the date. And I said, this is what I'm talking about. Olivia immediately says, before I answer, can I talk to Peter quickly? And I loved to see it because obviously Olivia had experienced hurt on the other end with Will. But let's be real. A lot of people then when you're in that situation, you get caught up in the moment. And then even though you had experienced that hurt before, you kind of forget about it because you're thinking about yourself and you kind of run off with the date. I love the fact, and I felt like it was a very important testament to show exactly who Olivia is.
Yes.
She hadn't even kissed Peter yet, and she was like, I'm going to pull Peter aside to have this conversation. And then throughout the rest of this episode, when these two men both want to be with Olivia and she's having to battle, she has showed so much empathy and respect in the situation where it's like, yes, of course it's the beach. It's all about people. You go, you meet the different people, you hook up with the different people, you see how it's going. Through the whole thing, I feel like we really saw who Olivia was, where she's so respectfully talking to people. She even hesitated later on in the evening when Peter leaned in to kiss because you could tell she was like, oh, John Henry kissed me earlier. I feel like Olivia is just stand up.
Yes, I agree.
I am a massive Olivia fan.
Huge fan. She seems charming, hilarious, all the above.
So then when she sat down with Peter, Peter said, I'd prefer you don't go.
Thought that was good. I thought
Me
he didn't
too.
put pressure on her, but he was honest.
No.
He kind of was not. He wasn't playing the too cool guy where it's like, oh, I don't care. Yeah, you need to come. Absolutely. You know, like people get in that, and then they're like, why did I say that? You know, he was, and he also was like not the only. He was like the first person not to spiral.
That was
Like
the thing.
when she wasn't there, he wasn't like, why? And then he also, when she came back, wasn't. Why? He's like, well, maybe we should address the elephant in the room. You know, he was very calm,
was
cool,
direct.
and collected about it.
And he also, I'm like, yeah, obviously we saw Peter being like a little bit of a butthead dancing behind Aaron S. and the way that he handled the Sam situation.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying he's like a great guy.
No, but what I'm
just
saying,
saying
I
that
was
he
surprised.
handled that well.
But I'm saying I was surprised by the fact that he handled it well. Because after seeing the dancing, the way he handled the Sam situation, and then how everyone seems to talk about him, I was like, oh, this is going to be a moment where he doesn't handle this situation well. And this entire episode, who knows what happens next episode, but this entire episode, I felt like he handled
very well.
He handled it great.
And
he communicated.
And a lot of times what happens too is people come back from their dates and they're dealing with sulky boys.
Yeah.
And then that kind of gives them the ick. You can tell they're kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, well, never mind. It never works out. Where he was the only guy to come back and be like, hey, how's it going? And and she kind of still liked him for it.
And he also didn't make her feel bad.
No.
Which I feel like a lot of people can do, which isn't cool.
Yeah.
But Olivia then does end up going out on
Yeah.
the date with John Henry, which I was very excited about. They had a spa date.
Yeah.
The moment when he was, well, first of all, the moment when she was massaging him was making me laugh so hard because she was trying to talk to him and he kept going, sorry, I can't answer you right now because it feels so good. It was like John Henry was touched for the first time.
It was funny too because I thought
He's never had a massage.
Well, it was also funny because I thought that like someone else was massaging him when that was happening, and then it zooms out and it's her.
Yeah.
So it's really funny that like he can't talk because of her massage. Like you can still talk, man. But he's just enjoying himself so much.
He said it felt too good.
Yeah, that was really funny.
It was like the man's never had a massage before. He's
Literally.
like, I have been underwater for 7 years straight. The crushing pressure of the water. My body is made of steel, and a woman's touch all over me
Yes,
right now
that
is
killed
just,
me.
I can't even talk. And then when he's massaging her and quote unquote tries to surprise her by showing a part of him, and she turns around and he's got the fucking helmet on.
Yeah.
I understand what he was trying to do. If I would have been her,
It's a little
I would
creepy.
have punched him because it would have scared the
Yeah.
shit out of me.
And I love how
would have
they-
been not expecting it. And it's this massive helmet. I would have
Yeah.
turned around and freaked out.
I love too how they like superimpose the like Darth Vader noises. He's like, yeah, but let me put my thing on. He's like, like it's like, oh my god, they put in the sound effects to make it sound like he's just with this tank on.
It was so funny.
Yeah, it was funny. But
I would have lost it though. I would have been like, stop.
right. But one thing I will say is like, I think she's had a couple days with Peter, so like there's a growth there. But one thing I will say is that like she had humongous crush energy.
Big time.
Big crush. Like it was like fireworks in her heart, butterflies flying around. She was smitten.
Yes, and it was interesting because I didn't think she was like that at the very beginning. It's like she
Yeah.
got there on the date. She was very nervous when the massage table like snapped when she sat on it,
She was,
and
like,
she was like so
embarrassed.
embarrassed. But she was like, I would have been more embarrassed if he wouldn't be so awkward.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was like she was kind of trying to like chip away at him, and once she kind of cracked the surface and he opened up, then we saw her crush energy because I
Yeah.
felt like she was like in kind of a zone at the beginning of trying to be like, is this guy gonna open up
Yeah.
or is this gonna be awkward or whatnot? But when they were sitting there and they were like looking, they are very cute together
Yes.
in their robes.
Yes.
And they had that pretty, in-depth conversation, and then they were in the pool making out. They were making out before they went back down. I was like, these two,
hot and heavy.
there was then a moment later when after they came back down to the sand and she had talked to Peter, and then John Henry was again like, I'd like to pull you again, and got her on that daybed, and he had his hand on her leg and he was looking at her. He's like, I want to make this work. I was sweating.
Right.
The chemistry was thick. Like that was the first moment of Paradise where my heart rate was like elevated, where I'm like, oh, this is an intense chemistry.
Well, which leads me to the Peter piece.
Yes.
Which is shocking to me that she was even interested at that point. They hadn't
Yeah.
kissed in multiple days. Their chemistry didn't seem to be off the hook. Compared to the John Henry connection, I'm going, you're gone, Peter. And then he awkwardly kisses her too. Like that was the most awkward. And then, but it was only awkward for me because then she in her ITMs goes, like he goes, I've been waiting for the right moment to kiss you. And then he leans in kind of awkwardly and slowly. And she goes, you can see she kind of recoils in a weird way. And I thought, oh, she's not into this. And she goes, is this the right moment? And he goes, I think so. And then he leans in and kisses her. And I thought, it's over. And then next time the ITM hit, she goes, incredible kiss. Amazing. And I'm going, am I missing something here? Like what is going on? If I had that connection with someone and it was the John Henry connection, and then I got this, I'm like going, hey, you know what? You're great. But like, there's no way.
This is what I think. This is what I think. When you see Peter and Olivia together, I think it's way more comfortable. I think part of that is the fact that they've been on the beach for like 2 weeks together already. They both were day one, so they've spent a lot of time together. When they're sitting together chatting, the way Peter talks to her is very comfortable.
Yes.
The fact that he's like, I don't want you to go. They seem very safe with each other. And so I feel like there's
exciting and new versus safe. It's
I think that there's that level of like, oh no, I really like talking with this guy.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy being around him. But then Mr. JH comes in,
and it's just Butterfly City.
And my whole body is flushed because the butterflies are exploding. So she is in a pickle right now.
Big time.
And she is going to need to decide between John Henry and Peter. And I have to tell you, I am loving and living for the fact that she is the Bachelorette right now. I love that Olivia's having her moment.
Yeah. Kat was a little bitter. She's like, interesting. She like, there's a quick ITM where she's just like, it looks like she's having a bit of a Bachelorette moment. Interesting.
Well, Kat always seems a little bit better.
Kat loves it.
Okay. And then we had another gentleman come to the sand. There's a lot of boys on the sand right now.
Yeah.
And it is John B. from Charity Season. Another one that all the women are like, oh my God,
Sweetheart.
he's so cute. But all the girls were like crushing on him. Here's the thing. He talked to a couple of the ladies, but eyeballs were on Eliza.
Yes.
He pulled Eliza. I'm sweating.
Yeah.
Because I'm liking Aaron B and Eliza together. Aaron literally has a blanket over his head.
Yeah.
And Paradise is like, oh no, these two feel like right now the strongest connection on the beach.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
Yeah. I also feel like it's interesting that you could tell it's very, unless you're like married, it's very exciting to have someone come down and pick you.
Oh, of course.
And that fucks with your head.
Even if you're married, you're like, oh my God, someone is
No,
here
I'm just saying though, like,
yes.
so far,
yes,
everyone said, yes, I'm down to go on a date.
For sure.
There hasn't been a turn down once.
Which I am a big advocate of in Paradise.
Okay. You got to see all the options.
I think even if you're locked in, I'm an advocate for going out on the date. Because it's a little bit like, you know, when you're just there and then you kind of like get into like it's like habitual a little bit and you kind of like get in a zone. I think it's important to be like, I'm on the beach. I got to talk to everybody. And if someone asks me on a date, I'm going to go on a date. Now there's the risk then that your person that you're going back to then might get asked on a date, you know?
I'm also a little bit like, I want to see someone diss the person who goes on the date, comes back and still wants them. Because I want to see someone go, oh, just because it didn't work out with them, you choose me, which is kind of understandable. It's kind of like saying, I'm not saying it's wrong to go on the date, but I think it should be more of a risk to go on the date. Everyone sits on the beach, sad boy style, waiting for the person to come back and goes, do you still like me? I want a little bit of the tides to turn. I want someone to go on a date, come back, have it not go super well, then have to sweat.
Well, unfortunately, the reason I think that doesn't happen is because it depends on who has the rose power that week.
Yes, that's true.
So it's a little bit like, hey, like, you know, maybe if for like this week the guys had the roses and then a woman would decide to go on a date with another guy that came down, and then that might happen.
I don't know if this is going to happen because from the previews, but I see that person being Kat. Like, I see Tanner.
Sure.
If anyone was to do what I'm telling them to do, it would be Tanner goes on a date, it doesn't work out, and then Kat comes back and goes, interesting. So the second fiddle over here, you want them back? Interesting. Nope. Like, I have faith. I want Kat to really keep leaning into that villain energy. and just diss Tanner for going on a date.
That would be wild. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Eliza and John B are talking. They're vibing.
Yeah.
And he ends up asking her to go on the date with him.
Yeah.
Eliza pulls Aaron. Yes. Thank you, God. She
Yep.
pulls Aaron and she's like, here's the thing. And this all very much made sense to me when I heard it all laid out. Because at
Yeah.
first I'm like, oh God, you're going to go on the date with him. Like, this is a
uh-oh.
risk. But when she laid it out, it all very much made sense to me, where she's like, here's the problem with what I did last time, is I got locked in, and then all of a sudden, when someone came down later that I thought I was interested
Yeah.
in, it became explosive because I had locked in with someone way too early.
Right.
I'm like, that makes sense to me.
Yep.
It made total sense, and I felt like Aaron was extremely gracious about it.
He
Even though
made it clear,
was,
though. He's like, I really don't want you to go on this
I don't
date.
want you to go on. He
And I
did the
liked
Peter.
that. I
I
liked that
loved
he
it
was
too.
honest.
And then you know what I loved even more is in his ITM when he was like talking about how Eliza is like the fig jam to his cheese board,
Yes.
right? And that, you know, you want that cheese board to always be there. You don't want anybody else to know about the cheese board. You want that cheese board there with your wine. I was like, Aaron, I see you. You're speaking my love language.
I thought it was a little strange.
It definitely was.
He was being very serious, and then he brought up the cheese board. It was like a weird thing. Also, charcuterie boards are meant to share. Bad example. Maybe hamburger, something that's kind of more you.
Yeah, but when you're passionate,
But like
when you're
but
passionate
no
about
one-
the
but
cheese,
the charcuterie board is a classic share plate. So don't bring up a share plate.
maybe it's a share plate to you. I want it to myself.
Very few people
I
order a
want it-
charcuterie board for themselves.
And you're looking at one of them, okay?
Yeah, I'm just saying. It's
You're
kind of
looking
like
at
it's
one
like
of
if he was to
them.
be like, she's my escape room, and maybe you're the only person that goes, yeah, just like how I like to have my own escape room. Everyone's like, well, it's usually something we do with friends. Something you share.
An escape room to me is alone. A charcuterie board to me is alone.
Yes.
It's just a singular activity.
Understandable.
But, you know, Eliza ends up going on the date with John B. They do kiss. I will say the whole time I was watching it, even though they were kissing, I was like, I feel like the chemistry is way more intense with Eliza and Aaron.
It was like fun crush energy, but it wasn't like connection.
Yeah, so I was not surprised that when Eliza came back,
That she
she was
seemed to-
like, listen, Aaron, I'm so excited to see you. I'm happy to be back. It made me very happy for
Yes.
Aaron. And it seems like she's locked in with Aaron. I don't think that she'll be giving her rose to John B. I mean,
Doesn't seem
you
like
never
it.
know, but it
John
seems
B
like...
seemed to pick up on like, ooh, I got to figure something else out here.
Yes. And I have high hopes for Aaron B. and Eliza. I think they, like I said, I
Yeah.
said this last week, I think they go all the way.
Seems
I
rock
think they
solid.
maybe even get engaged.
Right now, they seem to have the biggest shot.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. So while this is all happening,
Yes.
the Paradise Truth Box is introduced.
Yes.
Wells lets them know they can be dropping their truths, the tea, all these things. Now, I see Brayden smirk immediately. And I got to tell you, cutting to later in the episode, when they do read the truths, and at least from the editing, all of them are negatively about Kat. All I pictured was everyone else leaving the truth box and going and having a drink by the daybeds, and Brayden furiously writing 100 truths out and stuffing the box.
It's funny. I thought it was more like Brayden wrote 2, Aaron wrote 47.
Or there's that.
Because Aaron has much more of a justice complex for his friends than he does himself.
Yes.
So Aaron is like, I wrote 17, hence the way he reacted.
Maybe that's why. Yes,
Because-
when Wells is only reading the surfacey ones, he's like, let's get to the fucking good shit. I know it's in there.
And-
Breaks the
And this is where we figure something out. This is where. So I want to declare this because I
Yeah.
have been a little critical of Aaron.
Yeah.
In his rage.
Yeah.
But then also very supportive of his attitude and vibe when he was with Sam.
Yes.
We need Aaron in a relationship.
Yeah.
Aaron in a relationship is sweet puppy boy.
Yeah.
The second Sam left, he literally became, you saw that the look of anger rising again, and he's like, ugh. And like, also, hey man, we don't have to break the box. I'm sure there's a little latch that you just open up the box.
Yeah.
But he breaks the box. And this is where, so he brings it back, and then we saw a little side of Wells. Did you notice that Wells got pissed?
Did he? I didn't
Wells
notice it.
was annoyed as shit. Wells was probably like, I worked this out. I picked the light ones to kind of get us going, and then I'm going to bring the heat.
And Aaron's
Aaron
like,
sabotages the whole thing. Then Wells, he hands him back and goes, go ahead, man, read the good shit. And then Wells goes, no, you read it, man. You broke it anyway. It was like And he wasn't being funny.
Wells is mad.
Wells has like been drinking all day and he's on edge.
He's on edge.
And again, it was like Aaron didn't read those quotes in a way that was like, he wrote it like, here it comes, Kat. Here it comes.
Listen, Aaron was an agent of chaos on the sand.
He even said, like, if I'm going to go home, I might as well just, like,
and you know
rip
what?
this thing
Listen,
to the ground.
I got to tell you something. I loved it. I was like, thank you, Aaron. I appreciate the fact that you are hitting the sand and you're like, I'm going to help catch this beach on fire. And if it wasn't someone I'm going home. Yeah. We saw a confrontation moment with Kat and Aaron S. Aaron S. very calm and low key the entire time.
But this was the only time I've been on Kat's side. Was when Kat looked at him and goes, I don't have to tell you anything, and you don't deserve me to have a conversation. And I did kind of have this moment where I pulled out. I'm like, why is she talking to Aaron about the way she behaved about his friends? I'm like going, wait a second, am I missing something here?
But hear me out with this one. There was a moment earlier in the episode where it's Aaron S., Brayden, Eliza, and Aaron B. Okay? And Brayden is talking about his feelings with the whole, like, Kat situation. And Aaron S. is, in this moment, being the mature angel on Brayden's shoulder, where he's kind of like talking about Kat, and then Aaron says, well, you know what, though? It wasn't the fact that, like, she said no to you. It was the lack of communication.
Yes.
And then Brayden's like, well, if I would have known that she was planning on hitting the sand and having a wild summer, bouncing from one guy to another, and then Aaron S. goes, which is totally fine.
Right.
I felt like it was a little bit like Aaron S. is the father of Brayden, being
he really is.
well, I am counting myself responsible to make sure that Brayden doesn't get in trouble again. Brayden was the villain on Charity Season because he fucking runs his mouth. Now we're besties, so now I am supervising Brayden to make sure that whenever he is walking around and says something, that I'm behind his back going, that's fine though. She can be with whoever she wants. It's paradise. Da, 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 da. Because the one moment that Aaron S. let Brayden out of his sight, we saw what he did when he talked to Rachel and blew Sean's cover.
100%.
The second that Aaron S., that Brayden was off the Aaron S. lead,
Aaron
he was
S.,
like,
he didn't have the collar on.
Yeah, Aaron S. is the supervisor. And so a little bit when he talked to Kat, I was like, well, he's supervising, for Brayden. He's a little bit the go-between because he's like, I don't want my buddy here. I mean, I swear to God, Aaron S. probably had an earpiece in the whole time with Brayden.
Went to the bathroom, he goes, no.
But when Kat and Brayden were talking, I swear to God, Aaron S. had an earpiece in and was like, Brayden, don't say anything.
You got
don't
this.
say anything.
You're a king. You're a king.
I swear to God. But I know we're bouncing around here, but let's discuss Kat for a second before we talk Brayden and Sean and Rachel and Jess. After the truth box is broken open and the beach erupts, Kat is like a bat out of hell.
It was like a powder keg. It was like once she got triggered, there was no coming back.
No coming back.
Like she's yelling to the point where people are on the beach and they can hear her yelling in her ITMs.
And everybody's talking about it. So obviously,
and we've never really seen the third wall broken where you're like, there's ITMs going on and people are like noticing it while they're a part of it.
Yes.
And she's yelling so that I need a fucking shot and like all this stuff, but only because she's being called out for her bad behavior. It's not, hey, we're just starting a gossip train for no reason. It's like you're getting called out for something that everyone agrees is wrong, and instead of going, maybe I did do something wrong. Let me do some inventory here. It's now I'm against everyone.
And here's my thing: I could be like, I'm a little bit like, obviously, editing is a beast on this show,
you can't edit the screaming.
Well, I mean, not in the ITM portion, but it's like editing is a beast on this show. So I could see like, okay, they're making it look a certain way. She had told Brayden before, maybe. They were talking for a long time. Sure. The part then where I go, I don't think so, is because we find out that she hadn't told Brayden beforehand because Jess was like, you didn't tell him. And she's like, well, I told him now. And then also when you have all of her friends saying, hey, how you handled Brayden and treated him in this situation wasn't okay, makes me think that we are seeing a good portion of actually the reality of what happened. And then we have her sit down with Tanner, where Tanner is essentially like,
Tanner's been trying to like ignore the red. She basically is a pirate ship, and the flag is all red. Like, it's like, here comes a pirate ship, and instead of a pirate flag, it's just a red
and
flag.
It's massive.
And he's been trying all day. He's probably been hanging out with her, being like, this is a lot worse than I thought. And then he's hearing the screaming, and he's kind of going, okay, maybe maybe there is a chance that the entire beach isn't wrong.
yes.
Like, that every single person doesn't like you.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit of a awareness problem here.
And the thing is, too, as soon as Tanner is talking to her, he says, well, I did talk to Brayden. And we hear that Brayden let Tanner know. And I'm like, but of course Brayden did. You know, that's going to set Kat off. But Tanner was hearing.
Tanner should have had a shield with him.
And my guess is this. He said Brayden told him. But, like, I also think that probably most of the people on the beach told him.
Brayden told him, and then he also, like, spoke with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, it was bad.
And as soon as Kat could smell that Tanner was potentially off the sauce, that is when she went to the ITMs and all hell broke loose. And I have never seen, I don't think I've ever witnessed have a contestant shouting at the producers the whole time. Like, it wasn't like, oh, one moment she was raising her voice. She was looking, because you have to imagine this, the ITM situation, it's the producer behind the camera asking the contestant questions. So they're prompting her and she's shouting back. They're like, let her go, and she's going.
And if you were to take
off.
a camera and turn it around from her view to all you see is teeth, because everyone's smiling so big, like, yes.
They're like, give it to us.
Give it to us.
This is exactly what we wanted, and we didn't even have to prompt you.
That was the equivalent of when you see a kid at Target, like,
Yeah.
screaming on the floor and hitting the ground because they didn't get candy. Like that, she threw a legitimate fit.
It was a full temper tantrum energy.
Full tantrum.
Now, listen, I understand being in her position and thinking, I bet that the producer stuffed that goddamn truth box with shit about me.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking nobody on the beach thinks this, and they're just trying to, it's either Brayden, Aaron S., or the producers who are just trying to really light my fire, and being really mad about that. I'd be pissed too.
Yeah.
I'd be like, leave me alone. I'm now seeing somebody, go talk to somebody else on the beach, whatever. But you got to control the explosion of emotion, knowing that, again, you're on camera and that you're shouting in the ITMs is not going to go well for you.
Yeah.
You're going to be in every preview and every clip shouting.
Yes.
That was wild. So we end up seeing previews for next episode where it's her birthday. And let's be clear, she's saying about Tanner, she's like, selfish. I'm like, oh God, here we go.
Here we go.
But let me also say this to you.
We went on a date on my birthday.
I'm going to make something clear to any future contestants going on Bachelor in Paradise. On The Bachelor or Bachelorette, you always say it's your birthday. They give you special treatment.
Yes.
The lead gives you a rose, and you typically get a one-on-one. On Bachelor in Paradise, even if it is your birthday,
It's the curse.
you never say it's your birthday. I don't care if you're a birthday queen or king. If it is your birthday, never say it, because you will always be cursed. You will always get absolutely screwed on your birthday.
Yes.
It is a historical fact.
Historical.
So just Bachelor, Bachelorette, lie and say it's your birthday. Bachelor in Paradise, even if it's your birthday, lie and say it's not. Okay? That's just a tip.
That's a tip, but don't do it because we love to see the trainer.
Sure, of course. Okay. The other big drama, the
Yes.
final drama that was
Yes.
on the beach, involved Sean, Brayden, Jess, and Rachel.
Yeah, what were your thoughts on this?
I have to tell you, I was getting so many giggles and cringies through the whole thing, because as soon as the truth box is brought out, Sean is like, it's my time. I don't need this box. I am going to take all this energy and I'm going to let Jess know that I have feelings for her.
Especially because he's a master of body language too. You know what I mean?
So
It's
he
like
knows that Jess is like
knows
very
Jess
much
is
into him.
obsessed,
He's like, yeah, of course. He's like, she loves Taylor Swift and she loves me. Okay.
What would Swifty do? And then he wrote a song, by the way, that was like written because it had like rhymes
Yeah,
and it all
he
made
had
sense. Like,
prepared
he had
it.
prepared that ITM moment because he's like trained.
100%.
He loves the show.
He loves the show. when he pulls Jess aside, Jess is so iconic during this part because she could not be less interested. In fact, Jess is disgusted by Sean. Let's make that clear.
The last person on the beach you'd want to be with is Sean.
She's literally like, any other guy could come and talk to me and maybe I'd be like, I'll hear him out. And it's like, of all guys, this one.
She friend zoned him so hard.
It was everything.
It was like, I love you like a brother. I mean, literally, she said
She's
a
like,
version
so
of that.
like, I mean, love you. I mean, like, not like
love
that.
you, but like a brother, or like
we're
a
like
friend.
friends. But like, and he's like,
He's
so
just
what
like,
are you trying to say? And I'm like, Sean, don't make her spell it out. The level to which he made her keep having to clarify. I'm like, if you're an expert in body language, please take
when you
the
see
hint.
her recoil, that means it's not happening. So I will say this. I thought it was bad played. I thought he should have stuck it out, got the rose, then went after Jess. If you're playing the game, but like the day before or the day of, like we don't know if this night is going to be the night they do the rose ceremony. It's like, if it is, you're playing this game hours before the rose ceremony. How about if you want to play the game, dive into Rachel a little bit more, kind of lock the rose in, then over the next day or so kind of start chatting with Jess, see if something comes natural. But to last minute ditch your person, which is already a red flag to Jess, going, wait a second, out of the blue, you're ditching Rachel without even talking to her.
A bachelorette.
Exactly. Like, it's bad moves all around. He absolutely sabotaged himself so bad.
And that you're going to do that of all people to a bachelorette, like royalty of the franchise. You're going to try to go behind her back and snake. The fact that
you think you can beat out Blake? I mean, I love you, man. But
I mean,
geez,
my God.
Like, there are levels to this game.
On, dude. And also, the audacity to pull Jess aside. No conversations with Blake. He's standing there. No conversations with Rachel. He's just pulling a wild Hail Mary.
You gotta love someone that just has such a high view of themselves. Because he always says, like, sorry, let me know if you know anyone who loves a guy who looks like Ken. Like, he literally says that.
He's
it's
like, Jess is going to love this.
It's like, dude, you can't not like me.
He's like, Jess is going to be so excited when she finds out that I have a crush on her.
I quit my job for this show, I was like, don't worry, big guy, your dad will hire you back.
That's the first thing.
That's the first thing I thought. Was like, your job? You mean your dad's company? Get out of here, bro.
Well, we're like, we all know that your dad is some like fucking senator or something, and you have all your like crazy country club photos. Like, I'm sure.
You know, your dad gave you a job, but
like,
it's like it's the type of job where your dad has to justify to his accountants why they're paying you.
Or your dad's gonna make a call and you'll have a job again immediately.
Dude, get out of here with that.
Don't do that. Don't do that, my guy. But then. Simultaneously, what's happening is then Blake and some of the guys are chatting.
Yeah.
And Blake, God bless Saint Blake, is like, Brayden, what are you doing? Like, you and Rachel kind of vibe. You're not gonna attempt. He's clearly not into Rachel.
It was a great move on Blake to get, because he knew Jess wasn't going to go with him.
He knew
it. Was
it.
a great way to kind of get him back.
Oh, yeah.
While he was playing over
Saint
there.
Blake. He
that
knew
was
what's
a
going
smart
on.
move.
Slick.
Like, you know what's interesting is that girl over there whose boyfriend's talking to my girlfriend.
I don't imagine Blake and Sean getting along. I
No.
could be wrong.
No.
But, Adventure King Blake and
You know,
like
Blake's
trust
like cool with
trust
everyone.
fund Sean. Oh, yeah, he's
but
fine with everybody.
But he's like, that guy rubs me the wrong way, and now he's messing with my girl. Okay,
Yeah.
zing, done.
Uh-huh. Well, then Brayden goes over and he literally dive bombs in between Rachel and Tyler, who are exes, by the way.
Yeah. And Tyler's like, oh, shoot.
Having like an intimate conversation, he jumps in between them,
Like where they're
belly
all
flops.
touching.
Yes. And then I guess Tyler
Tyler's
walks
like, oh,
away.
okay, bye.
And he's like, so Rach, here's the bottom line. And tells her essentially that what is she feeling when it comes to Sean? And you can right away tell that she's like, well,
There's no one else, but we're vibing, I guess.
We're
It's just
talking,
chill,
like, it is what it is. And he's like, okay, well, because, Sean's talking to Jess and is in a situation where he's like, well, Rachel likes me so much. And so...
Like, I got that locked down, but, you are cute. It's like, oh, boy.
And I'm going to tell
What a slick move.
And I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm on the sand. Nothing, and this is in real life
so
too.
Funny you're gonna say this.
Would make me see red more than hearing that some guy
that you don't really like.
I don't really like is going around and telling people on the beach
that you're locked.
That I am so into him, and he feels bad that he's gonna have to shut me down. I would lose my mind.
It's funny when that happened. I literally thought that would be Jess's number one trigger.
My whole body recoiled when Brayden said that. And I was like, Rachel, get him.
Yeah.
get him. There's nothing more enraging than someone who you feel about saying that you're obsessed with them.
Yes.
And that you're like, oh. And then also, too, if I'm Rachel, I'm like, I have not been treated like royalty on this beach. They made me come down first. And now some rando is going to say that I'm obsessed with him. I will eat you for breakfast and spit you out for lunch.
I love, too, how
Oh, my God.
they revenge made out.
That was everything.
You know, it was on the truth box. It was like, they should make out. And they're like, yeah. And they went out like, oh, like just to get him. Just like, this is for you, Sean.
And so then Rachel is like, looks at Brayden and she's like, hold up.
Yeah.
I have someone to talk to. And she flies down the sand. And she's like, Sean, we need to have a discussion. And her
She's
going
like, my blood
off.
is boiling.
She literally was like, I'm trying not to freak out. Her going off on Sean, where it's just like, who do you think you are? Because that's what was going on. It was like, who do you think you are? We have a situation going on where we both know we're not really vibing with the other one, and we're exchanging roses until that person comes down. We both know this. You're going to go and try to humiliate me by saying I'm obsessed with you. Like, you're in the bunks with the guys at night and are like, yeah, you guys, you know, I don't know what it is, but you know how the babes... They all are obsessed with me and Rachel. God, nice girl.
Good
Sweet girl. But like, God, she won't give me any space. And like, I don't want to break her heart, but like, you know.
I'm a player, man. What can
You gotta
I
let me
say?
fly, babe.
Ooh.
I would freak. He is taken aback.
Yeah, he's like, I don't have a response to this because it's right.
And
but
it's like he realizes that he messed with royalty.
yeah.
It's like, you went too far, my guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he tries to, and she's like, I need to have a moment alone, and walks off. And then he walks in the same direction and is talking to the guys. And when she looks back at him
She's like, why are you
and is like, why are you still here? And he's like, should I go be on the beach alone? And it was like practically like, yeah.
Well,
Because-
he pulled kind of a cat moment because then she goes, yeah, you should. He goes, fine. Aaron B, with me now. Like, he goes, well, these are my friends. And she's like, I don't care. And he's like, Aaron B, come with me. And Aaron's like, I don't know. I was having a drink.
He's
I was
like,
having
I
a good
just wanna
time.
hang
I don't
out
want to
with
go with
my
you.
friends.
This is heavy. This sucks. Aaron B, get over here.
But when she whips around at him and is like, why are you still here?
Yeah.
I was like, kick him off the
Kick him
beach,
off.
Rachel.
I know.
So now then there's the drama.
Yeah.
Because Sean finds out that essentially Brayden, because Rachel says Brayden was the one who spilt the beans.
Yeah.
Sean's pissed.
Yeah.
Sean is like, who was there for you, Brayden, when you were heartbroken over Kat? This is all true. But what I'd like Sean to remember is that he talked mad shit on Brayden for like months straight.
Yeah.
And he now has had his back for like 3 days.
Yes.
Okay. So this whole thing of like, I have your back and now you're going to do this to me. It's like, you're not thinking on your feet, my guy, Sean. You talk shit on Brayden for a long time. Now it's time for revenge.
Yes.
But I don't think Brayden did it in the revengeful way.
No,
I think
Brayden just does the vomit thing like he did with the what was it during the reunion when it was
FP,
the
when he, like, told
thing.
everybody.
He told everyone. He wasn't even trying to do it mean. He was just like, I don't know, I'm such a truthful guy. I think that was the same thing. I think that he was trying to kind of be real about the moment. He was trying to get with her.
I think he was trying to get with Rachel.
I don't think it was like the super vindictive thing, but I also thought, Sean, you're not built for this show, man. Telling your mortal enemy as of 3 days ago that you guys just made up your deep secrets about how you feel about Rachel. It's like, bro, like telling another single guy how you feel about your current girl. It's like
Amateur behavior.
Thinking that might not come back on you. It's like, bro, like such an amateur move.
Amateur behavior.
I love Sean. Sean always finds a way to sabotage himself. Like even when he was doing with Charity and he like it was killing it and he got the game, he found a way to blow the whole thing wide open.
Oh.
And now she's like, you know, just he's rinse and repeat.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that he is now just like, I'm so disappointed in Brayden just makes me giggle because I'm like, cut to a few months ago when you were just talking mad shit. But no, I agree. I feel like Brayden was like, Rachel's my rose option, right? And I vibe with her. I think she's hot. And then he just did the verbal vomit, the verbal diarrhea, where he just said it all. Because as soon as he was done saying it and she ran off, he goes to the guys, he goes, I think I made a mistake.
Yeah, I love that. He goes, I fucked that up. That was hilarious.
He was like,
oh,
man.
damn it. I did it again.
Oh, God. I said Sean's name. God, I brought up Sean. I was just.
He knew.
I thought
He's
she knew.
Hey
I'm like,
guys, I
oh,
think
God.
I fucked that up. That was really funny. That was like a kid who just like, I just spilled the cookies.
That
like,
to me was such a tell that it wasn't an intentional sabotage.
He was just vomiting, verbally vomiting,
that he was
and then
just
he
like,
realized,
whoopsie daisy, did it again.
100%. He's like Kristen Wiig in SNL when they do the like
they can't tell
the
secret.
surprise one. She's like, it's your birthday. No, like that's
Brayden is very much like slip on a banana peel
100%.
energy. Like he's gonna slip on a banana peel. He's gonna go flying.
Whoopsie daisy.
You know what I mean? That is the energy. But guess what? Maybe it was calculated. Maybe it wasn't. Whatever it was, he got Rachel like riled up, and she got pissed at Sean. So she is done. Thank God, because I was really like, Rachel, get out of there.
Waiting for it to end.
And now it looks like, Rachel and Brayden are going to give it a shot. And who knows if it ends up working out. The preview for that date looked sexy.
Spicy. We'll see.
Maybe Brayden, she was saying, she's like, he brings out a different side of me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's...
I can see it happening.
I don't know.
Good episode, though.
It will be absolute chaos next week, but it's going to be good. It's
going to be great.
I think it's going to ramp up here. It looks like next week with the cat birthday situation, it's going to be absolute chaos.
Oh my gosh.
I cannot wait. Okay, so just as a heads up, everybody, this is the only episode that you're going to get from us this week. If you haven't checked out our last week's episode, we did 3 last week, so check those out. But we're now that Love is Blind is done, we are officially back to the every other week, 1 episode, 2 episodes, 1 episode, 2 episodes. So we'll do Monday drops and then Monday, Wednesday drops. Monday, Wednesday. And our every other Wednesday drops, we're going to be talking some FBoy Island. We're going to be covering some of the hot topics with that. So make sure that you're watching FBoy Island. We'll be having some exciting guests, doing some fun call homes, all of this stuff. So looking forward to that. Should we do a call home?
Quick call home?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Remember, you can always call home.
Yes.
Hey, Mom and Dad, this is your daughter, Kat.
Hi,
I'm
Kat.
a nurse and a wife and a mama to 2 little boys who are a kindergartner and a 3-year-old. I know you typically do a lot of relationship questions, but I have a parenting question for you.
Okay.
And I'm especially hoping that Jess has some good feedback because I really appreciate her theater background take. So my kindergartner is in his very, very first play in December. He's going to be a hyena in The Lion King. I'm super excited for him. We've been practicing lines, and he is phenomenal, which is surprising to me because I don't have a theater background.
Got a little talent in your hands.
But the dilemma is, in December is my 30th birthday, and my husband and I are planning on going to Las Vegas and celebrating my birthday with about 20 people, and also renewing our vows.
Dang, brag much? 20 people.
So it's our 7th wedding anniversary this year, and so we just really wanted to do something special. So I've been planning this for about a year, maybe 2.
Oh, wow.
And so I just don't know what to do because my son's play is literally the day that we leave. And I just want to make him feel special, and I am devastated that I'm going to miss it, and I have other family that's going to be here to support him, but I didn't know if you have any advice for how to make him feel special and loved and make me feel a little bit less guilty. All right. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Bye.
Oh, Kat, this
Dilemma.
is tough.
That's
I'm so
frustrating.
sorry. I'm so sorry that, this is your birthday you've been planning for so long, and then also the vow renewal with you and your partner, and it just, the timing of it.
It's a lot.
Sometimes that just, that can be a lot. Well, first of all, I want to say this, that you have a big heart and you love your little one so much. So know that, you're probably going to feel it a lot more than they are. As a parent in this situation, age-wise, you are going to be feeling this. So, make sure that you're doing whatever is going to protect your heart and peace the most. I know that you said that you guys have been planning this for a year, 2 years, and there's 20 people. But if you feel like you will be miserable thinking about this the entire time, there's part of me that's like, you said that it's the play is the very first night that you all are gone. If you think that like you are not going to be able to enjoy that night at all, and you are just going to be wrestling with your heart, I'm like, is there a world in which, you know, maybe you and your husband are able to meet up with everyone really late that night?
Yeah, flat after.
Yeah,
or
like you're able to go to the play and then just shoot over, and, you know, there's a bunch of people there, they'll be good. And then you join them late that evening. If there's a world in which that's possible, I feel like that might be the easiest on your heart because, you know, you're there to celebrate your birthday. But if you know that you're just going to be a wreck thinking about it the whole time, that would be my initial thought. But if you're not able to do that, I would talk to your little one about it. I would ask your kiddo what would make them feel special. I think often as adults, we can sometimes think that, when they're young, you know, they might not be able to communicate certain wants and desires. I don't think that that's the truth. I think often our little ones are so tuned in and able to communicate what they desire. And so if you ask your little one, like, you know, mommy and daddy, we are so proud of you. And obviously your child knows that. You sound like an amazing parent, that you're helping them with their lines and are so proud of them. But if you are then able to be like, hey, listen, mommy and daddy, we love you so much. We're so proud of you. We know we're not going to be able to be there, but we want to make sure that you know how proud we are of you. What would make you feel the most loved? What would sound the best? And maybe give, because they're only in kindergarten, maybe give them a few options. Like, do you want us to be FaceTiming during the play? Maybe one of your relatives that's going to be there could be holding up the FaceTime the whole time, and then they can take screenshots of you watching, and then maybe you can send a video afterwards to your little one of like what your favorite part was, and so that they know that you were there the whole time, FaceTiming after, and maybe a special delivery for them where one of your relatives has a special toy or flowers or something like that. I think those are a few options, but I do think talking to your child about this and giving an option or two might be really beneficial for you and your kid. And again, like I said, too, even if you can't be there in person, maybe there's a world where you can FaceTime during the performance and then send like a video after.
Yeah.
Talking about it.
Yeah.
And it's like you're practically there, you know?
Yeah. I agree with everything you said. I think the FaceTime thing's good. Just like FaceTime right after. I'd be like, hey, how'd it go? And at least you can kind of like see that that's happening. One thing too, I agree with everything you said, just to piggyback on that. One thing I will say is kindergarten's young.
Yeah.
So I think the older you get, the harder it is, the more they remember.
Yeah.
Kindergarten's pretty young. What is that, 4 or 5? So I do think that like, there is a level of like, they'll be fine, take care of yourself, go on that vacation that you need, get that break you need. It's also more than you're just going on a little vacation. You're doing the vow renewal. Obviously, it's not ideal. Obviously, it's not what you want. This is, don't go if you're going to be tortured by it. It's kind of that thing, too, what Jess was saying. But also, the less you make it as big of a deal to the kiddo too might help. So the more
That's
like, I'm so sorry.
Yep.
It's going to be, but like the more you make it like, hey, we're not going to be able to be there, but grandma and grandpa are going to be there and we're going to be FaceTiming you. It's going to be so awesome. And we're going to be getting all your next ones. The more you make it just kind of positive and fine, I think the more they'll echo that energy. But if you hit them with the, like, you're crying and you feel so bad and then they're seeing that, why aren't you? And then it's like a whole thing. If you're going to commit to going to this birthday party and vow renewal, then just be like, make them feel confident in the fact that everything's okay.
Yes, I completely agree with that. Yeah. And as much as it is going to be, you're going to be having probably all the emotions and feelings when you say bye before you head out to the trip. And you're probably want to have one of those meltdown moments where you're like, oh my God, I would try to keep it in and wait until you get in the car. And then you have the meltdown, just to echo exactly what you're saying, Evan, too, so that your little one is just feeling the excitement on their big day, and just that positive energy and not then carrying the like stress of parents and their grief through this process.
100%.
I agree.
Tough situation.
I know.
Though.
I'm so
totally
sorry, but sending you so much love.
Absolutely.
You're an amazing mom. You're gonna do great.
The fact that you're warring with this is a good thing.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Well, we love you guys.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Have a great week, you guys.
All right.
Mwah.
Bye.